Well, okay. You're gonna have to forgive me. My computer is in a state of flux right now, so sounds and everything are gonna be a little weird. Um, I need to make sure that we get some sound here. Let's change this. And let's check that. Yeah, it's been a wild few days. Forgive me, I'm still changing things here. Speakers there. Okay, why is this not working? And we're gonna need sound, but my sound is like, no, I don't want to work today. Come on. Advanced audio properties, no. Stupid Windows. Of course, Windows. Windows, you are the bane of my existence. There. There. Of course, Windows just randomly changes sound properties on me all the time. I just hate it. There we go. All right, let's lower the music here. All right, I think we're good now. Are we good? You guys got to tell me. I know you can hear it, but can you hear the sound as well? Because the sound is going to be very important here, because if we're doing a live reaction of this, we need to know exactly what he's saying. And I apologize, I may pause the video through the viewing. Okay, so you can hear the music. Excellent. Okay, that was my main concern. Okay, so we're going to kill that. Let me go over to this other window that I have. Window capture, here we go. All right, so here's the video. Well, I mean, again, we all kind of know what's been going on if you've been following, so here we go. Let me make sure the volume's turned up. Okay, this guy right here is the CEO. He's the new CEO of LMG. So just in case you're like, who's this? And here we go.
I think we put it best at the Roast a few years ago when they said, "Why the f are you here?" That's a two-part answer. I'm speaking today because of the recent community outcry demanding change. I'm here because I agree with the community. We do have a lot of work to do. Before we talk about that, while I wish us on better terms, I just want to say I'm very glad to meet you all. I have spent the last couple decades on the corporate side, but my educational background is in computer science. My first role in the tech industry was as the writer at Newspaper. My history building gaming PCs was even further back to when it.
In case you're wondering who Taryn is, apparently Taryn knows Linus from back in the NCIX days. So, yeah, that's why he eventually became the CEO, because he and Linus were acquaintances or friends or old coworkers, whatever. But that's how he got here.
Building still on 300 ARIC because everyone assured me it was guaranteed to overclock to 450 megahertz. I guess my trip didn't really get known. In any case, it feels really good to be back on most days. I'm only 6 weeks into the job, but in that time I've seen a lot. I've looked at some budgeting, some team building, and operations. But my main focus has been to be a fly on the wall and gain an understanding of what's going right and what's going wrong. There's a lot of both. I've asked the team to unflinchingly address both the concerns that have been raised and how we intend to fix them. With the money we'll make from our sponsor.
Just kidding.
Thank God.
This is for unflinching, and here it is. Linus is a human gas molecule. You've been telling him for years, and I've been telling him for years. Staying relevant on YouTube is hard for everyone. But we aren't fighting for survival anymore. We don't need to run at this pace. In fact, in some ways, it's our efforts to keep doing more and keep doing better that have created our current situation. My background is in managing a pharmacy, where the small details matter a lot. And basically, I agree with the community, so I'm putting my foot down. Effective immediately, all YouTube video production is on pause. And our teams are going to be spending this entire next week focusing on long-term workflow changes to make our content better in a lasting way. This means for the first time in over 12 years, LTT will be missing not just one daily upload, but many. But improving to the degree that we want and need is going to take more than a week. So I'll be working with Taryn and Colton to manage our sponsor commitments and the financial hit of both this housekeeping week and a reduction in our LTT upload schedule. at least for now, while we get our house in order. But before anyone gets concerned that we're going to cut investments into the well-being of our personnel and our future capabilities, I can assure you that I've read the criticisms that we weren't willing to spend $500 to test a product, and as the one that manages the finance, I can tell you that couldn't be further from the truth. Linus made a clear and egregious judgment error regarding retesting a product he felt was impractical. That was wrong, and I've told him so. He allowed his personal feelings on the matter to cloud his judgment. And I want to stress that our organization is committed to our ongoing investments in making our content better. And we will do better as a team. Why don't I let our chief money spender take it from here?
Hi, I'm Gary, head of labs. First off, we've made some mistakes. Too many. We're hoping that it's how we deal with them moving forward that will define who we are. And regardless, it's clear that we need to serve you better. So our team will be spending our week publishing living documents for our testing standards and opening them up to feedback from the community and our peers in the industry, should they wish to participate. We will also task part of the team with going back through every video with LAMPS data to ensure accuracy, make full corrections, and if there are any fundamental issues with the workflow design or results, pull or replace that video outright. I don't agree with every criticism that's been leveled at my team, but for my part, I need to own what we've done wrong and lay out our action plan for how to move forward. Before I do that, one point I do need to address here is that Linus misspoke when he said we retest for every video. We retest for every project. When we use the same data for our RX 7600 and RTX 4060 Ti videos, we knew in advance that these cards would release 2 days apart and designed a broad test suite that accounted for all the numbers we would need to make those 2 videos and ran everything at once with no BIOS or driver changes. In fairness to Linus, the project to video ratio is normally 1:1, but the devil's in the details. Now, let's talk about what's coming. We will release our current Markbench harnesses as open source items so that the community can audit the code around our test integrations. We will do a vlog style video on Flowplane about our testing from start to finish so you can see how the sausage is actually made. We will open a new community
The
forum
sausage,
post
yes.
asking for transparency suggestions, and more importantly, we will follow up. We will start placing our testing project number in the credits, so we are always open about
The weird thing is that most average consumers who are kind of interested in this are not really going to care. I mean, interested in the whole thing with Linus are not going to really care about what this guy's saying right now. Some of us will, most of them won't.
the data set that was used for the benchmark results. And there is a lot more still to come, ranging from test variation percentages per workbench to each benchmark we utilized in videos, among others. It's going to be a busy week of not making videos.
Same goes for us. I'm James, head of the writing department. We are extremely grateful for everything the lab has done and continues to do to make our jobs easier. But the actual testing is not the biggest source of our recent struggles. It's the human factor. There have been times when an internal video review caught an incorrect graph, resulting in new versions of the graph being created, only for those new graphs to not be put in the video. Ah! Just about every error that has appeared in a video in the past year has directly resulted in a process change designed to prevent that specific issue from ever happening again. But this kind of problem pops up, create a new process, whack-a-mole, isn't working. We'll be using our time to take feedback from our team on all of our processes and comb through all of our pending projects for areas where we can improve as we move forward with our reduced upload schedule. You'll see some of these videos go up during our time off. We already have multiple videos that are scheduled for release. But my main message to the team is that we want to spend this time working on interdepartment communication and cleaning up our house. What we won't be doing is sanitizing things too much. We know that some of our best videos are centered around Linus and other members of the team just goofing around with tech and having fun. That is not going to stop. But others, like GPU and CPU releases, certainly require all the rigor we can muster. Those launches don't happen as often these days, so it will take some time before you see the full payoff of our continuous improvement. But it has already started happening. Not only did the community love our 4060 review, but our team found it less stressful to put out. Have we had a flawless victory? No. But since these last reviews, we've onboarded a dedicated visualization person whose full-time job it is to create graphs that are correct, digestible, and accessible. We've done serious development on our automatic specs database thing so that our visualizations pull the correct info in every time. And we'll soon be announcing the details of a new crowdsourced fact-checking system for both LTT and TechQuickie so that our content's correctness satisfies even our most discerning community members.
I'm Ed, head of our production team.
Still kind of seems weird that it took them this long to kind of figure, hey, you know, maybe we should have a better process in place. And I understand what James is saying, but the whole thing of it being like kind of like, oh, the problem comes up, let's just create a solution to it, and the whole whack-a-mole thing. But it still felt like, really, this is the kind of thing that $100 million company is doing. Sorry. Here we go. Back to Ed.
We have some of the most comprehensive documentation and processes in the company, from automations to keep project information accurate to communication procedures to standards for how loud videos can be. Those systems have helped with the video edit side of things, but I've seen some examples where we've failed to see the forest for the trees and allowed well-edited but erroneous content to slip through the cracks. So for our part, we'll be spending our time looking at how we can improve communication to help the team address anything that seems off as soon as possible. A personal task for me will be putting the finishing touches on some cool ways we can make small edits that avoid the slapdash text on screen corrections whenever possible. As for how we catch those bugs, that's not my department, so I'm throwing it over to Nick.
Hold on. I'm mostly on the product side. LTTstore.com. What? Somebody had to say it.
Oh God,
The
come
theme of
on.
today's video is transparency and accountability. You might not see me in video
Joe, we're actually going to address that after we watch the video. Yeah, this stream is not just about this video. We're also going to cover that other stuff too.
credits, but I still serve as a last line of defense in reviewing most LTT videos before they are published. I typically check for security links and inappropriate or NSFW jokes, but there are times when I catch a factual error or a weird graph that doesn't really tell the full story. To be clear, we also have checks for technical aspects from our writing team, and in some cases, the lab, but our processes for ensuring those checks happen and following up these findings haven't been perfect, and our corrections are often made quickly. So while we take this time to reflect, I'll be focused on helping build a set of guidelines for our pre-release reviews and trying to set up a system that allows our team to take a finer look at every aspect of our videos, every single time. And maybe with time, everyone here will be so aligned with our mission that my input is no longer needed, and I can focus my full attention on making little widgets that you don't need, but definitely want, like this retro-themed screwdriver.
Errors in our supporting assets
Ugh.
like tables and graphs chip
That was
away our
cringy.
credibility. So continuing to improve our process issues to minimize errors will remain a top priority under my leadership. I guarantee there will be future mistakes. We are human. But next week we'll be creating and publishing a clear policy for correction handling, and I'll be working with the community management team to be prompt and transparent with corrections that are as visible as possible. I think what happened with the Polish mouse is a perfect example of the kind of breakdown that should never happen again. Last Friday, Linus was notified of the issue a couple hours before the WAN show, where he discussed the errors of the video on short circuit and apologized unequivocally. But while we recut the video to remove the misleading information, no one closed the loop and dealt with a tone-deaf and frankly unapologetic correction in the pinned comment. Our mission is to get the information to the community, which includes having a degree of humility about our mistakes, even if it makes us look less than perfect. The other side of my job as CEO is keeping the lights on, ensuring our staff is well taken care of, and putting dollars into some fun stuff, like water cooling a PC with a pool. And that's through sponsorships, affiliate programs, paid subscriptions, or merchandise sales. One thing that's not negotiable with me, ownership, or the business team on sponsored content is we need to maintain control of the creative. I was on a call with a potential partner recently. They asked for a cream puff piece. What's a cream puff piece? That's when they're like, how much money do we have to give you just so that you tell the story that we want? Before I can jump in and say anything, just because I'm in shock at this point in time, Nick turns over and says, no, absolutely not. I started laughing a little bit. I just said, hey, Nick, there's probably a better way to handle that, where we could just soften up a little bit. But the truth is, I don't disagree with them. We've had many rocky periods with sponsors where they're not happy with the content or the conclusions, and because they couldn't affect the editorial bents. This has and continues to have significant negative impacts on revenue. I think we're pretty transparent on how, where, and why we make our money. And one of our strategic pillars is to make sure that we can maintain editorial independence. This has included on multiple occasions saying goodbye and good luck to sponsors ranging from thousands of dollars a year to hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, over remaining independent and doing right by the LTT community. While we were deciding if we were a good fit for each other, I was very pleased to see the integrity of the team here based on the deals that these guys have walked away from. I think one thing that we've done a poor job of, however, is publishing these standards where a community can see them. That's something I'll be improving upon.
And
I have to say this though, they did do a good job with Anchor. I don't know if you're familiar with the whole situation that happened with Anchor. Just in a nutshell, Anchor apparently was uploading data to their cloud service without telling the people that were actually using it, the consumers. Consumers would buy these cameras and stuff, and the whole idea was that these cameras were not supposed to send data over the internet at all, ever. And Anchor was like, yeah, we don't do that. We don't upload the data. Well, it was proven that they actually do. And then they got called out, and Anchor's like, no, that's not what's happening. And then somebody just flat out proved that that's exactly what was happening. And Anchor wouldn't, really address the situation. So Linus decided to drop them completely, which is a good move. I'm glad that they did that. But yeah, some of the other, content, even the sponsored content is a little questionable at times now. But anyways, back to the video.
So will I. I'm Colton, the head of business development, which includes departments like HR, procurement, logistics, events, and sales and marketing. Sponsorships specifically are an area where Linus has more limited oversight than it used to. And in my opinion, we haven't done a great job conveying that. It's up to my team to vet incoming sponsor requests and deal with issues that you, our viewers, have with our brand partners. One way we do that is using our LMG sponsor discussion subforum on linustechtips.com to create a dialogue between our business team and the community. It's obvious from some of the issues we're seeing that we need to be more communicative when we're actively working with brands to rectify issues. Most content creators can attest to the fact that brands sometimes take forever to respond to messages or address problems. A perfect example is Anchor not removing Linus Tech Tips from their Amazon pages, even though we've been asking to be removed since our partnership with them ended months ago.
That's kind of harkening back to what I said about Anchor. That's actually also true. They asked Anchor to remove their supposed endorsement of their products, and Anchor to this day has yet to do it. So yeah, Anchor, not a good brand anymore, man. Avoid Anchor.
We work hard to push for accountability, but we also understand that these businesses are either large with lots of moving parts or small with limited resources. So things can take time, but you shouldn't be waiting in the dark. It's critical for us to get the sponsorship piece right because real talk, you guys are the boss. If you're not happy with brands we work with, you won't engage with our sponsors, and suddenly we won't be able to support all the cool stuff we're currently able to do. Moving forward then, you can expect weekly updates in the subforum on issues that need addressing, and we'll also include an up-to-date list of product verticals that are off limits for our channels. We hope this will enable us to make better calls consistently from here on out, all while maintaining our long-time commitment to transparency. Finally, I want to apologize to Billet Labs for auctioning off their monoblock at LTX 2023. Our processes failed when I was selecting items to include in the charity auction, but then it was compounded because when the issue was brought up to me via email, even though I replied 2 hours later apologizing and offering to pay for the component, I forgot to actually include our contact in that email. So it went to our procurement team instead of Billet Labs. Side note, that same team, God bless them, didn't ask our event team who won the silent auction items and proceeded to email everyone asking. We don't need any of that. Certainly not for tax purposes. I clearly need to spend some of my week training the team, unless I actually get fired for real this time. Moving forward, we'll be implementing a more rigid
These
process
jokes
for
are falling
separating
very
items that
flat.
need to go back and which ones we'll be holding on to for future testing.
This might ring a little hollow coming from one.
Man, that whole Billet Labs thing, that is just, ugh. Yeah, that it's like if there's ever a way to handle a situation badly, take a look at that whole Billet Labs thing. They completely failed on that. Now, we're coming up to Luke. And I will say this about Luke, even before he speaks. Luke, I think, over all this time, especially over all these years, has been the one person, besides Yvonne, that has actually tried to rein in Linus and some of the stuff that he says. If you've ever watched the WAN show, and I've watched the WAN show almost every week for like 5 years at this point. You know, maybe not live, but I will watch it. Every single time Linus is about to say something really stupid, take a look at Luke and watch his eyes and watch how he looks at Linus. Like, he'll look at Linus and be like, please don't say what I think you're going to say. Or sometimes he will help Linus to back down from a certain thing that he knows is a really bad take. Luke, I think, is probably the most level-headed person at the company. Anyways, that's enough for that. Let's go back to Luke.
Half of the WAN show team that brought you Trust Me Bro and the privateering incident, among others. But we need to be better about our communication. Now, I have no intention to kill the silly humor or be less open with people. I don't want anything to be less fun, but we do need to be respectful and conscious of the impact of our words. We should be proud of the work that we do, but we shouldn't negatively compare ourselves to our fellow tech reviewers. When issuing corrections, we need to apologize. We need to respect people's time and their money.
Yeah.
I said after the last round of this that you don't win by screaming loudly or dramaing hard. You win by fixing problems, improving, and becoming a hard target. We're still up a lot, and we need to own that, fix it, and move on, not be defensive or shirk blame. That being said, I'm not really on the production side of things these days. What my teams and I are working hard on is to support the other teams in other ways. Reintegrating into LMG has been somewhat terrifying. One of my team's jobs is to take over management of the infrastructure, and while I have brought an experienced team member into the fold, it needs a lot of work. So far, we've mostly just been focused on documenting what we even have, and most of our initial steps beyond that will be improving overall stability, rather than flash video-worthy projects. Any production interruptions due to shoddy infrastructure add additional burden to the other teams, and our goal is 6 nines. Well,
Oh, Jesus, Luke, stop. What is with these terrible jokes in this video? I understand they're trying to kind of keep it, you know, not super serious, but maybe this is something they need to take super serious. Like, seriously, just stop with the jokes for a little bit, man. Please, just take this, because every time they make a joke, it makes me feel like they're not really taking this as seriously as they should. And I don't necessarily blame... Okay, maybe I will blame Luke for this, because he could have said no, but I'm sure somebody wrote a script for him, and he probably approved it. Still, they need... Please stop with the freaking jokes at this point. My God, it's just... Ugh. It's so nasty at this point.
also continue to maintain and develop our inventory system, which, with better processes, should be able to help keep things like Billet's prototype from being mishandled, misplaced, and misused in the future.
And
the
sold.
foundational work we're doing on reliable data management and storage should enable teams like the editors and the engineering folks in the lab to move faster and more confidently with lower risk of errors, thanks to new tools like our specs database. Among my other unmentioned and unrelated responsibilities is keeping Linus from driving off various cliffs, which I have failed at a number of times.
Yes.
And let's face it, he's gonna fail again. Hey, it's me. I'm Chief Vision Officer now, but realistically, I'm not gonna be able to hide behind my recent demotion here. I was the one at the head of the company for each and every mistake that our community has rightly brought to our attention. And once again, I made things worse by allowing myself to respond emotionally. It's honestly really hard when people take an internal process error and then they run that all the way to Linus is a thief and wants to auction someone else's intellectual property to the highest bidder, or accuses me of trying to brush something under the rug just because I do think it's important to get all the details before declaring me to be a low-down liar, straight-up piece of. We were slow shipping back the GPU that Billet Labs sent us.
You know, I see the irony in that statement because he doesn't want to be thought of as this or that, and he doesn't want people to suddenly go and take something and run with it, yet he has done that exact thing on several occasions. It's Yeah. Anyway, back to Linus.
Yes. There's no way around it. That's our bad. But the delay in communication, the one that prompted the post that you guys just saw, it was less than 2 business days. The second that I was made aware of the situation on the 14th, I emailed Billet Labs and I explained what happened. I even included Colton's attempt at apologizing and offering, no questions asked, full compensation for their stated value of the product, which happened on the 10th, before we were under any pressure to do so, and without Colton even bothering to check with me or Yvonne before just...
That is contrary to what Billet Labs is saying. He's reiterating this before, is that he claims he spoke to Billet Labs before the Gamers Nexus video came out. However, on the Gamers Nexus update video, which came out yesterday, Steve had already spoken to Billet Labs, and Billet Labs themselves said that no, they had not been contacted. So this is getting a little weird now. I mean, it's hard to come out and say that Linus and his team are just lying, but at the same time, it's like, well, Billet Labs is saying something completely different. This is a major reason why he's getting dragged right now, because Billet Labs is saying, no, you never contacted us until the video came out. Linus is claiming that they did. So which is it? You know, at this point, it's like, who can we believe? You know, do we believe Billet? Because it's like, well, you know, they really did get majorly screwed over here. Or do you believe Linus, whose trust has been kind of, you know, at least my trust in him has been really wavering lately. So, yeah, I just don't know who to believe at this point with that situation.
saying, go for it. He knows that our internal policy is to do the right thing. So, he tried, bless him. I guess his job is safe for another day.
Yeah, but if you notice, he also said that he contacted them on the 14th. Okay, he himself may not have contacted them on the 10th. He mentions the date August 10th. However, he claims that somebody internally contacted Billet Labs. Billet Labs says nobody contacted them until after the Gamers Nexus video came out. That's what I'm getting at there. He personally may not have been the one that supposedly tried to contact them on August 10th. However, Billet Labs is claiming that the August 10th date doesn't mean anything. They were never contacted. That's what they're saying. So that's why I'm saying, who do we trust at this point? Linus personally may have actually gotten involved on the 14th after the Gamers Nexus video came out. However, I guess maybe somebody's telling him this, that on August 10th, they tried to contact Billet Labs. Billet Labs has refuted that point. So that's where I'm getting mixed up. That's where it's like, okay, well, who's telling the truth, who's not? Because either the attempted contact on August 10th did happen or it didn't. So, you know, what's going on there? All right, let's try this video again.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I guess I've actually gotten a little bit emotional here again. So I'm going to stop there because whatever's being said about me and whatever's being said about the team should never have allowed my feelings to distract from any valid criticism of our work. My decision, for example, to not bother retesting the monoblock, that was obviously wrong, and my lame response on the forum was a huge and unnecessary blunder. I owe you guys better, and I'm sorry. For my part, first, I'm going to be working through the other members of the exec team for any crisis communication moving forward. And second, I'm going to spend my week working with the other teams to develop a system of processes that will help our company fulfill my vision of being a world-class tech media organization. I'm also going to be spending my week just refocusing, guys, on what matters most, which is bringing you guys the best damn content that we can make. It's been over 10 years. Lord, it's been almost 15. But I still love tech. I love my team, and even though our relationship's a little rocky right now, I love this community and everything that it stands for. None of that has changed, and none of it is going to.
During my interview, one line from Linus that stood out.
I'm seeing that comment from you, Joe. Joe says the email was supposed to be sent on the 10th, but Colin effed up. Okay. So I guess that's the mix-up that we're seeing here, is that Linus himself, like I said, did not apparently from what we're seeing, Linus did not become involved in the whole situation until after the Gamers Nexus video. Okay, so somebody from LTT was supposed to have contacted them on the 10th, but they screwed up and somehow the email didn't get sent or something. And so that's why Billet Labs was not contacted. However, after the Gamers Nexus video, that's when Linus was made aware. And that's when they got in contact with Billet. So that seems to have been straightened out now. Okay, that actually answered a good, major question there for me. Still, I mean, I get that that whole email thing could have been screwed up there. However, it doesn't absolve them of the fact that they took a one-of-a-kind product and still basically auctioned it off, sold it, whatever you want to call it. That's completely inexcusable. That is like beyond a major F up. It's, you know, anyway. Let's finish hearing what Taryn has to say.
But to me was, I need somebody to come in who I know will be respectful of my life's work. That's when the Gravity Org is asking for dawned on me for the first time. I'm by no means influencer or social media guy, but suddenly I'm accountable not only to Linus and Yvonne and the entire staff at LMG, but most importantly to the entire LMG audience. I'm fortunate to be inheriting a wonderful team that is passionate and has a ton of energy, who shares the same goal. We celebrate our wins together, and when we make mistakes, we also share the responsibility. I'll be coaching the team on the kinds of deep state corporate stuff that I think I'm reasonably good at. Budgeting, team building, relationship management, business development, operational processes. All things I consider to be essential life skills rather than the tactics of some sort of weird Illuminati conspiracy. We need to be a more well-oiled machine with better accountability as we've gotten more complicated internally with how technical, writing, editing teams all have to coordinate. There are still going to be deadlines, due dates, and time-limited goals that we still need to drive towards, but how of all this obviously needs more polish. I planned these topics to be covered in internal conversations over the coming weeks, but instead, I'm talking to you about it during this on-the-job experience of what it's like to work at a YouTube company. For all our awards, the team has worked hard to build up trust in the community and share the joy and the passion that we all have for tech. So I do not take for granted the responsibility and stewardship that comes along with this position. And I welcome continued constructive feedback. Thank you all for holding us accountable. I feel ready for the challenge and ready for this message from our sponsor.
Just kidding, again. But Dbrand did offer.
Okay, but Dbrand did offer. Yeah, that whole thing just, it sort of feels like, oh man, how can I put this? I guess in a way it's sort of amazing how a company or a channel, however you want to put it, has been around this long and has grown as much as they have, has not been able to address some of these issues in a better way. And it's, I don't know. I understand Linus getting emotional. That's fine. You know, it is technically his company and Yvonne's. But at the same time, it's I've made these comments on Twitter, and I'll make them here. For the longest time, YouTube was never really looked at as an actual job. And people kind of treated YouTube celebrities or YouTube businesses or whatever as kind of like this sort of fad thing. Like it was more of a hobby and not something you could actually make money at. LTT, if anything, has proven that this is a legit thing. So I'll give them credit for that. But at the same time, from the moment that Linus started uploading videos all those years ago, it's been like over a decade now, to now, it feels like he's not really matured in a way that I think that he absolutely needed to. He is kind of like still like the old school YouTube bro. He's not a business person, you know. And I understand to a certain extent he is a personality, and that's what he brings to the company. That's what he brings to the videos. A lot of people watch the videos because they're entertaining and not necessarily informative. But when you've got a reach as big as he does, you need to really nail down your processes. This shouldn't be something that's happening to, you know, a company that's been around this long and that has gotten this big. these sorts of things just, I don't know, it feels like a major failure of leadership. And again, for the longest time, Linus said to himself, he was the CEO, he was the one in charge. And so you have to kind of say, well, he failed pretty badly. It's, you know, there's really no excuse for having this many errors in videos, or this, you know, there's no excuse for what happened with Billet. And there's definitely no excuse for something that they didn't mention in the video. Well, actually, they did mention it in the video. The whole Trust Me Bro thing. Because, what was it, like a year ago, Gamers Nexus initially came out and said, hey, you know, you're making products now. And because of that, you need to, you know, possibly back these products up with some sort of warranty. Like, what kind of guarantee do people have that you're going to, you know, stick to the quality of your product and be like, oh, well, if this didn't live up to the standards, do they get a replacement? How long is that replacement period for, et cetera, et cetera. And Steve was being very honest about that. He's like, yeah, you're a major company now. You're making products and you're selling them for very high prices, which is fine, because I understand, again, he's a big company, but he's not a massive company, and they do actually put a lot of work into making sure that the products that they make are quality. So that's good. But at the same time, if I'm going to pay, what was it, $250, $270 for a backpack, I better have some sort of warranty with that. And the big issue I had with that whole situation was not that Steve called him out. It's the way he responded to it. The way that Linus responded to that criticism. That's how the Trust Me Bro meme and the Trust Me Bro joke came about. Not only did Linus think it was a joke, but he took it so far that he made it into a t-shirt that they sold, and people bought it. People bought that Trust Me Bro t-shirt because they thought it was a joke. And all the other people that were just like, well, yeah, haha, funny, but you actually do need to tell us if this thing has a warranty or not. What's going on? I think that really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. That, I feel, was like the beginning of this whole sort of thing where you could tell that Linus had kind of lost touch with what was really going on. Like, he had never really grown into a real business person sort of mindset. He kept that bro mentality, you know, where everything was just a joke and he could just, you know, and it didn't matter. That whole thing just really, you know, I mean, I'll say this about the $250 backpack. It is a really nice backpack. I'll give him that. And especially when you're not buying millions of them, to buy a high quality, you know, basically piece of luggage, that's kind of what it is. It can cost money. I mean, you can get a backpack really cheap for like $30, but it's not going to be very high quality. It's going to be mass produced. The stitching isn't going to be great. The materials used aren't going to be great. So $250 for a backpack, yes, it's expensive, but I do see why it's expensive, because he does have to pay all his team. It takes time to design that stuff, takes time to come up with ideas, takes time to get samples back, and then, of course, like I said, the stuff that they use to make it does matter. But at the same time, it's like, okay, you're going to spend all that money, all that research, all this extra stuff to make sure the backpack's great, but not offer a warranty to it. And when somebody asks you about it, you make a joke about it. That really rubbed me the wrong way. You know, it really did. There's more to this story, though. Let me go back to another window here. Give me one moment. There is some additional drama brewing when it comes to Linus Tech Tips. Maybe not Linus directly, but definitely people that work for the company. Joe mentioned this earlier. There is an ex-employee who, I actually remember this girl. Ex-employee Madison Reeve has come out and said that there is a big reason why she eventually left the company. Let me bring up that story real quick. There we go. I'm going to let this load. There we go. Here we go. Ex-Linus Tech Tips. Share that with you. There we go. Oops, I don't want these videos autoplaying. Go away. Oh my god, can you stop autoplaying? What are you... Anyways. Ex-Linus Tech Tips employee alleges mistreatment and poor conditions. Quote, no one gets a break. Ex-Linus Media Group employee Madison Reeve posted a thread on social media regarding their experience and the working culture at LMG, which is currently under fire for accuracy and ethical concerns. If you don't remember this girl, like if you're not a big viewer of LTT, what was it, like 2-3 years ago or so? It was a while back now. I think the whole thing was she won a computer or something, and they ended up flying her out to Vancouver so that they could film a video of her building the computer with Linus. And so that was their first kind of, meeting, And in the video, it was actually a very entertaining video because Linus, sometimes kind of gives a bit when it comes to, the jokes and the poking fun and stuff. Well, when he was doing some of that with her, she was giving it right back to him, like hardcore. And it was hilarious. I'm pretty sure the video is still up because it got something like 5 million views. It got a ton of views. But yeah, that was her first whole thing, and she went out there and they made the video, and the video was wildly successful. And then she had apparently asked about possibly working there at LMG. And as it would turn out, she did get hired and all that, and kind of seems like a really nice kind of success story sort of thing. Well, not so much. She won the ROG competition. Thank you. Okay, yeah. But here we go. Let's read through the article together. Linus Tech Tips is currently facing scrutiny from Gamers Nexus and the wider community for accuracy and ethical concerns, which included auctioning a prototype item they did not own. We've covered that. Also mentioned in the 45-minute Gamers Nexus video were workplace conditions, which led to staff members making mistakes or creating inaccurate content. Linus has since responded to the initial Gamers Nexus video. Now, streamer and content creator Madison Suop Reeve has shared the reasons why they left their role at Linus Media Group as social media manager in a long and damning thread regarding the alleged reasons for leaving their role in late 2021. They were hired following a memorable appearance on a previous LTT video where Reeve appeared with Linus Sebastian after winning a competition. It remains Linus Tech Tips' 5th most watched video. So there you go. Yeah. 12 minutes. That's a ton of views. I can't even begin to tell you how much money that video probably generated for them. It is a massive video. Quote, I never publicly made any statements regarding my time there because I feared even more backlash from a community that was already attacking, defaming, and sending me death threats, Reeves states on her Twitter X account before posting that they would not, quote, have recommended anyone I knew to work there, especially with my experiences as a woman in the office, unquote. That is 100% true what she's saying about the LTT fanboys. Now, the general audience, most of us are pretty level-headed, but of course with any sort of fandom that's out there, there's always a small portion that just take it to the extreme when it comes to defending certain, personalities or celebrities out there. They just go for the throat every time. And this is not nearly the first time that LTT fanboys have done something like this, like physically threaten people or wish them harm. We'll come back to that here in a moment. Let's continue with the article. Excuse me. Reeve continues to allege that they were called, quote, incompetent and attempted to get help from managers, but was rebuffed and told to be, quote, more assertive. Following this, they claim to have been pulled into a meeting where they were laughed at. Okay, that seems childish. Allegations of assault, sexism, and inappropriate conduct. Following their attempts to receive help, Reeves alleges that they were, quote, inappropriately grabbed multiple times in the office and barred from appearing in Linus Tech Tip videos. Huh. That kind of speaks for itself. Okay. Quote, the opportunities LTT presented to me were nothing in comparison. The day-to-day... Okay, I think wasn't quite written correctly. That's why it's freaking me out. Okay, let me start that over. Quote, the opportunities LTT presented to me were nothing in comparison the day-to-day issues I faced, unquote, Reeves continued, where she claims that she was met with multiple sexist remarks throughout the duration of their employment. And then you can see the tweet right here. Let's see. Apparently, some managers didn't like me because I had, quote, hadn't gotten drunk with them before, unquote, which was said in that haha, just joking, but actually I'm serious tone. I understand that. Her second tweet, or her follow-up to that. After I came forward about being assaulted, someone accused Linus of inappropriate conduct on Twitter. He came over to my corner and started berating her, calling her insane, mentally ill, an attention seeker, and just digging into this poor woman who had felt wronged by him. Okay, let me reread this. After I came forward about being assaulted, someone accused Linus of inappropriate conduct on Twitter. He came over to my corner and started berating her, calling her insane, mentally ill, an attention seeker, and just digging into this poor woman who had felt wronged by him. Oh, okay. So it looks like, just so we can be clear here, she's not saying Linus did anything to her, but somebody else on Twitter had accused Linus of being inappropriate with them. He himself, Linus that is, apparently went over to her corner, I guess, where she was stationed, her desk or whatnot, and started berating the woman, the accuser, calling her insane, mentally ill, and just digging into this poor woman who had felt wronged by him. That's a little, a little weird. Wow. Okay, that's news to me. I did not know about that. That's questionable, at best. Quote, I was asked about my sexual history, my boyfriend's sexual history, Reeves claims, and that certain issues at the company were, quote, sexual tension, and that they should, quote, take a coworker out on a coffee date to ease it out. Okay. That seems inappropriate for an office. Furthermore, Reeves recounts that they were asked to, quote, twerk for a coworker and called various slurs, but nothing came from reporting these incidents. What the hell, man? I mean, again, this is kind of going back to what I said about how Linus never turned into like a real businessman. He still has that bro mentality. And it feels like a lot of people that apparently work for him have that same bro mentality as well. They don't realize that they're working in an office and that you need to be, there's a certain level of decorum that you need to maintain. Okay. That's terrible. Okay, let's go on. It felt like a horrible teenage drama movie. Here's some more quotes from her. There were numerous instances of misinformation being given to me purposefully to negatively impact my work. I only know this because coworkers would tell me they overheard the actual information I should have been given. It felt like a horrible teenage drama movie. What the F, man? So they were, according to this, they were purposely sabotaging her? Why? What's the purpose of that? That is so dumb. Why would you... Ugh. Moving on. Work from home was a whole issue. If you took 3 minutes to answer a personal email, you could get in trouble. Happened to me. There is a system of micromanaging and a level of distrust because the amount of content they have to push out daily is so insane, no one gets a break. Other employees have backed up that. They've come out and said that they feel that they push out way too much content way too often, which again is like it's like a snowball effect. You keep trying to push out content, nobody gets a break, everybody feels stressed, and the content, or at least the quality of the content, suffers. And that, yeah, can't do that, man. Reeve further claims that she was told off for taking sick days, which culminated in them committing an act of self-harm. Quote, it was genuinely the only way in my mind to take a day off without being harassed for a reason why, they state, noting that after speaking to managers regarding their mental health, claiming they were belittled until they have, quote, bad time management skills. Ugh. Wow. It feels like the management in LMG is not good. Oh, God, that's... Quote, there are so many instances that led up to that moment. Some of them I have replayed over and over, asking myself what I did wrong. How could I have changed the situation? But I don't think I could have, Reeve continues, before noting that after a coworker reached out to them, that the issues were not theirs, but the company's. Okay, that makes sense. Let me see. The constant content has been an issue since 2008 in the first employee Q&A on the main channel. Thank you for noting that, Joe. Like I said, there are videos out there where the actual employees, even some of the management team, have come out and said we need to slow down on the videos. We need to chill out. And apparently Linus was like, no, new video every day. Continuing, Reeve further claims that there is an internal paranoia at the Linus Media Group where employees will leave and begin their own content creation platforms. The circumstances of her accepting the role were allegedly announced publicly before their knowing, in addition to her contract not lining up with what she had been told regarding personal projects in the role, which they had to move countries for. She's from Arizona, if I remember correctly, so she is an American, and she obviously had to move to Vancouver, so, you know, that's actually a pretty good distance. You know, you may think, oh, well, it's, you know, Canada's right there next door. No, to move from Arizona, I think she was from, like, Scottsdale or something. But yeah, I think it was, like, Scottsdale, Arizona. Don't quote me on that. I know she's from Arizona, though. At least that's what I remember. And she had to move all the way to Vancouver. That is a long way to move. That is a pretty good long way. That'd be like moving from, I think, like Spain to northern UK. It's a long way. Yes, cultural differences as well. Americans and Canadians, although we are neighbors, we do look at the world a little differently. So that's going to cause issues. Let's see. Quote, I'm not stating what happened to me because I am seeking clout. I'm stating it because it has been eating away at me for 2 years, Reeves states, before claiming that there are talented people at LMG, but that the company is being stifled by, quote, ego and bottom line, unquote, which is hampering their work and, quote, slowly destroying some of them and hurting their entire reputation of the company, unquote. That is true as well. Yep. I think, and again, I'm not hating on Linus just because he is successful, but when you go from somebody who is struggling to even pay the bills to being, you know, to owning a company that is apparently valued at $100 million, that is a pretty big boost to the ego. So yeah, I can see that happening. That makes perfect sense. The $500 testing is a good example of the bottom line. That's very true too. Plus, if you're not interested in even dropping the $500 needed to properly retest a product, then why should I believe any review you put out there? You know, it makes no sense. If you're not going to spend the money needed to do something the right way, then don't even put out a video. But it's LMG. Gotta have a video out every day. I say that as I put out a video every day now. But let's face it, my videos are much easier to handle and much easier to produce. I film like, no joke, I'll film like 20 videos in one day, but they're all like shorts. It's like me opening a pack. That's it. Anyway, here we go. We're right. This is where we are right here. Reeves' grievances with LMG continue as they claim, quote, there are so many stories of horrible things and shows of ego that I witnessed while working there, and continue to claim that Linus's own statements are a, quote, gross misrepresentation of what actually goes on behind closed doors. Having worked in the corporate world, I 100% know that is a true statement. 100% for sure. There are so many things that go on behind closed doors that your average frontline employee is just not privy to. They just don't know about it. You know, some of those things that happen behind closed doors are very dirty and very... Here we go. The ex-Linus Media Group employee concludes, quote, please don't attack individuals who don't actually have power at this company. Most of them are blameless and powerless to actually change anything. Yes. Let's please not attack the regular frontline employees. If you're going to get mad at somebody, get mad at management. Linus Sebastian announced in May that he would be stepping down as CEO and instead taking on another role at the company, but still remains the owner of Linus Media Group alongside his partner Yvonne Ho. And then there's like a next article about the Gamers Nexus thing that we've already covered. But yeah, that I think Joe mentioned, or not Joe, but Moni mentioned it earlier that they made this latest video, the one that we saw earlier, obviously, before the whole thing with this individual came out. God, what is her name again? I'm bad with names. Madison, there we go. I'm sorry, Madison. There we go. Madison. They made that video before Madison came out and said all this stuff. So, yeah, that's going to be a whole other issue that they're going to have to deal with. Really, like I said, it feels very much like a bro mentality at that company. It just, like I said, there are too many people in that company that never grew up. There are some that I think have kind of slowly realized that, hey, we're an actual real company now. We need to behave like one. A couple of people that I can immediately think of when it comes to, hey, we need to kind of be a little more careful with how we do things is probably Luke. Like I said, there have been several times on the WAN show where he has, heard Linus kind of starting to go off into some of his quote-unquote hot takes, and you can see it. Luke will look at Linus and get those eyes. Just look at his eyes, and you can tell that he's thinking, oh God, please don't say this. Please don't do that. Please don't say this. But of course, it's Linus. He's gonna say it. Linus has gotten himself in trouble so many times just because he won't shut up sometimes. We all kind of do that to a certain extent. I get it. Even I do it. But I'm also not the owner and leader of a $100 million company. I think if I were to become a leader of a $100 million company, I would hire somebody to be there and, punch me on the shoulder or something and be like, hey, shut up. Stop talking. And nobody does that with Linus. Nobody does that with him, except maybe Luke. And I think Luke might actually feel, because Luke's been there from the very beginning. To me, Luke is just as much an owner of that company as Linus and Yvonne are, because he's been there from the very beginning. And it feels like Luke still has this idea that he can't really just call Linus out, especially on a live show like the WAN show. And he tries his best to kind of toe that line. And that's, I think, like I said, I think he's one of the few people there that kind of is level-headed about the whole thing. Another one, I think, is Yvonne. She tries to take things a little more seriously, especially from the financial side. But like I said, there are just too many bros working there. That bro mentality is thick in that company. And I just, it's going to be difficult, because when you have that many bros working at one company, how do you even correct that? How do you correct that without actually cleaning house a little? And by cleaning house, I literally mean firing people, getting them out. Just saying, okay, we don't. I think it started well because Taryn, who is the new CEO, he is definitely more of a businessman. You can tell the way he presents himself. He is not somebody that stands in front of a camera making videos all day. That's just not what he does. He is very much a businessman. So I think hiring him is a move in the right direction. However, when the owner is a major bro and he acts like it all the time, how do you correct that? Maybe this is the shot in the arm that Linus needs to finally say, hey, look, dude, you're 36. You can't be a bro like that anymore. You need to grow up. And yes, I understand that you kind of bro it out a little bit for the entertainment value in the video and whatnot, but when it comes to the actual business and the running of the business, being a bro just doesn't work. It's not going to work. You have to be an adult about it. Let me catch up on the chat. There's a lot worse stuff said in the thread. You need to take a good look at it. The whole N-word thing going on. The WAN show was comedy gold. I meant R, my bad. Oh, yes. I remember hearing about that too, where they said certain choice things on the WAN show. And again, it was one of those situations where Linus kind of stepped in it and Luke was like, oh, crap. It's like, come on, man. And again, it's weird because there have been times when I've been watching the WAN show and you can see when Linus is starting to wade into that deeper water. And there have been so many times where I'm like, Luke, please stop him. Please, for the love of God, stop him. And you can tell he wants to. You can tell Luke wants to kind of just grab him by the arm and be like, dude, stop. But he just can't, or he won't. I don't know which it is. Maybe it's a little of both. And that's why Linus steps in it so much. That's why he does that, because he's a 36-year-old bro. And he never matured enough to, or how can I put this a little bit better way? There is a certain maturity to Linus, but I feel like he's so used to putting on that, hey, we got to do a video face. And it's kind of like he clicks into that character of the bro, that it's bled so much into real life that it's negatively affecting his business. And I feel like some of the other people, especially some of the others that often appear on camera, they're kind of the same way. They have that mentality that, oh, this is just a bro thing. And, you know, one of the others that I think of immediately, is it Jake? The younger guy, kind of a big dude. He does a lot of the networking and stuff. Like he's in a lot of the networking videos. I think he has a little bit more of an excuse because he's young. If I'm not mistaken, he's like 21, 22. So he's still a young guy, you know? So he's going to be a bit of a bro. That's pretty much fine. Plus he's also not the head of the company. So I kind of understand him doing that stuff. But some of the older guys that are there, again, like Linus, Colton, James, and I'm not saying that Colton and James have done anything to the extent that Linus has, but there is still a bit of a bro mentality there. Like one of the big, I don't know. I don't even think I should mention that, but do we want to look at the thread? Do we want to look at the LTT forums? The LTT forums, which are incredibly popular. I wish my forums were that popular. My forums are trash. When your company gets compared to Activision Blizzard, it's not a great look. Not saying I agree fully, but it's unflattering to say the least. Yeah, it is. Do we want to look at LinusTechTips.com? Let's see, LinusTechTips.com. Is it up? Because it's been down for a while. Oh, okay, it is up. Yeah, over the last couple of days, the site has been up and down. Well, here we go. Oh, look, they're already talking about the Madison thing now, too. Madison reveals experiences working at LMG. Do we want to read this? Do we want to read this? Linus's personality, has money changed him? Yes, it has. There's the Gamers Nexus thing. Is this it for Colton? Will he finally get fired for the Billet Lab blunder? Oh, he did screw that up. Yeah, that's a major. They always make the. Oh my gosh! Look, Linus Tech. Oh, he responded to this apparently. Linus himself answered this question. No, so he's not. Apparently, there's no plans to fire Colton. It is a pretty major screw up, though. Madison's ex. Oh, be quiet. That sounds goofy. Do we want to keep talking? I mean, because we're still kind of on the whole Madison thing. Here we go. Another tweet from Madison. To stop the speculation and DMs I am receiving, I chose to quit my role at LTT because it and the working environment I was facing were ruining my mental health. The number of daily items the social media role at the time was expected to fill was incredibly high. Okay. I kind of want to go check out her Twitter in a moment. Any comments on this, Linus? What the F? Okay, so this is just more stuff. Oh, is this the whole thread? We can read through the whole thread. I never publicly made any statements regarding the time because I feared more backlash. Okay, we read that. With birth and mental health and employment, they would confirm. Not talking about anyone I know worked there, especially. Okay, we've seen that too. Consistently belittled. Okay, I was consistently belittled by certain members of upper management. My work was called Dog S, and I was called incompetent. That's a pretty strong word in the business world. Incompetent is basically, if you call somebody incompetent, you're basically saying you should not work here at all. You should just go. That's pretty harsh criticism. When I would reach out to, ooh, that was a loud ding. Thank you for the follow over on Twitch. Continuing with her thread here, it doesn't matter if you think I am or am I not stupid. This behavior is not appropriate. She's right. After enough complaints from me, I was pulled into a meeting. In that meeting, the writer's room was pointed to, and I was asked, do you think any of these people would have a hard time getting a job? I said no. Keep in mind, this was about a month into working there. I was then pointed to and asked, what about you? That is horrible. Why would you do that to an employee? That's basically putting them on the spot and publicly embarrassing them. I know it's a private meeting, but when you have a bunch of writers in there, it sounds like there was a group of people in that room and she got embarrassed. That's messed up, man. I was scared. I remember asking, are you going to fire me? I was laughed at and told to stop being so pessimistic, as if my job and ability hadn't just been vaguely threatened. It was. I was then asked to agree to a verbal no drama contract. The verbal part is important. Ugh. You sent the link in the chat? Oh, well, it's not going to show up in the chat, unfortunately. YouTube doesn't like links for some reason. Let's see. We'll continue through this. In this moment, I realized I was no longer considered part of the team. Yep, I'd probably feel the same way. I was now a threat because I was putting up a fuss when I believed I was being treated unfairly and inappropriately. The verbal agreement wasn't right. It was a behind-the-scenes warning with no record. Yeah, that's... A warning that came very shortly after I had come forward, stating I had been inappropriately grabbed multiple times in the office, amongst other issues. I was barred from being in videos. So when you ask what happened, why wasn't she in more content, this is why. I did notice that. Like, after she had gotten hired on, I think I remember seeing her in, like, one additional video, and then that was it. Because I can tell you right now, people liked her. People really... I thought she was awesome. Again, going back to that 12 million view video, I thought that video was hilarious, and she was the reason why. She is the reason why that video got 12 million views. Ugh. Okay. Yeah, because you have to think, if you get like an up-and-coming star on a team of something, you would think, oh, well, let's put them out there, let's get them going. And I noticed she was only like in a small portion of one video. I think she was on screen like maybe 10 seconds. And that was it. That's all I remember else. There could be other videos. I could be wrong, but yeah. Moving on. There is this perplexing fear that people will leave LTT and start their own thing if given a platform. So if that platform could threaten negative things coming out about your company or you'd probably want to squash it too. Okay. Let's see. Is there... okay. This is an old thing. I think this has been debated to the end. Like also the sexual harassment case with that 3D print YouTuber. I think she is called You. There's no evidence in anything. There's indication, so this is a completely different thing that has been discussed here. There's also always two sides, and the load too high, or are the work ethics too low? I think it can be hard to get to the bottom of this. I don't know, man. That just, yeah, oh, hold on, here we go. I was asked about my history. I'm sure you all can read that. If you can't, I can always make it bigger. I was asked about my history, my boyfriend's history, how I like to, whoa. Dude, you do not ask people that at the office. What is wrong with these people? You don't do that at that is total bro stuff. You don't do that at an office, man. What is wrong with you? I was told that certain issues were sexual tension, and I should just take the coworker out on a coffee date to ease it out. We've read that earlier. Asked to twerk for a coworker. I was told I was chunky, fat, ugly, stupid. I was called R. I was called an, oh man. And at any point I would bring up these comments, I would get told, oh, we will have a chat with them. Nothing ever came of it. The day I handed in my notice was when someone who constantly overstepped me misled what I was working on, and who I was said to me, what? I think the reason you tried to be funny is because you lack any other skills. Smiled, then walked away. I really want to know who said that. I want to know who said that. I'm no joke. I want to know who told this person that. And I would just sincerely like to sit down with them and be like, in what world do you live that you think that is appropriate in the office? Who does that? Only a sociopath would behave this way in an office. That is disgusting, man. What the F? I mean, again, I get if you're hanging out with your friends, you know, like how we sometimes do in the Discord, because some of us have known each other for so many years at this point, where we can joke around and that sort of stuff. That's fine. Like if there's I mean, because you know how Dre and I kind of tease each other back and forth. I get it. It's just, you know, that's just how Dre and I are. That's fine. You know, we have this sort of understanding. You know, and sometimes I do it a little bit with Moni, not so much. I just tease him about cheese. And the same thing with Hammer. Like, I'll tease Hammer a little bit, but it's mostly kind of harmless stuff. At least I hope you think it's harmless. If I've ever been mean to you, I sincerely apologize. I don't think I ever have, but like some of the stuff I'll say to Hammer would be like, Hammer time! like if you go into Discord right now, I think it's under the memes section. I asked Hammer, I thought he was made of a hammer, and there's a little hammer time thing. Anyway. But yeah, some of that stuff is fine. But again, yeah, just like you're saying here, this is in a professional environment, in an office. This is not in Discord. So I don't understand the mentality that these people have. It's ugh. All I know is, like, I worked in the hotel biz for several years. I've told you guys that. And at various points, I was a frontline employee, then I was a supervisor, then I was a manager. And so what I know what it's like to go and, you know, sit in those manager meetings where we discuss employee performances and this sort of thing, and metrics and all that. So I know what it's like to be at the top. I know what it's like to be sort of, you know, like middle management. And then I know what it's like to be, you know, basically an underling, I guess, the front line. At no point ever, I can say this for the hotel that I worked at no point ever in my approximately 3 years that I worked there was I ever treated like this. Nor did I ever treat anybody else like this. If anybody would have ever talked to any of my employees, and by that I mean my team, if anybody, even if they were outside my team, had ever said anything like this, or anything like this, they would have at the very least been written up and thoroughly warned that if they do this ever again, they are fired. You don't talk to people like this, man. You just don't. Not in a professional environment. If you're hanging out with your buddies or your friends and you all have that sort of understanding, okay, fine. Sometimes friends do goofy stuff like this to each other or say stupid stuff like this. That's fine. But this is an office. That is absolutely disgusting. I'm not kidding. I really do want to know who said this to her. I really do. It's like, it's going to start eating at me. Like, I want to know who told you this just so I can walk up to them and give them the middle finger right to their face. Be like, here you go. Here's another skill that I have. Is that good enough for you? No, bastard. Anyways. I wonder how they will try and justify this behavior. I don't think they're even going to address it. I mean, think of it. Already in this thread, we have seen people saying, like, here, this is an old thing. Here, Erasmus DC, this is an old thing. I think this has been debated to the end, like other sexual harassment case with that 3D printer YouTube. I think she is called You. There is no evidence in anything. He's basically just saying, I'm sorry, man, but why would anybody go and make up all of this? Why would somebody pick up their life, move from Arizona to Canada, get what some people consider a dream job, and then leave that dream job? You have to think something serious was going on there. You know, there is no reason for her to just come out and make this stuff up. That's why I believe it. There, at no point, and again, I admittedly don't know this woman very well. The only way that I know her is from the few videos I've seen her in and her social interactions. But even then, I just don't understand why this would be made up. It makes no sense to make it up. You would basically make, by coming out and saying something, she understood she was going to make herself a target for ridicule. And that's fine. I understand that you need to, you know, there is going to be speculation whenever stuff like this is done. But again, I don't see how she would gain anything from it. You know, what would she gain from coming out and talking about this? What, notoriety? Why would you trade your privacy and your mental health for some notoriety and a whole bunch of LTT fanboys coming and threatening you? Because you know that's happening to her. You know that is happening to this poor woman. Let's see. High workload is normal. Okay. I don't even want to get into this whole thing. I get workload can be kind of crazy at times, but still. Let's see. This gets pretty serious. Let me see. What does this say? For obvious reasons, there won't be an official statement disclosing private details about my dealings with any of our current or former staff. You and Reddit can stop asking. So, oh, this is, okay, so this is Linus basically addressing this whole situation. Okay. On a separate note, no Indian from reporting workplace mistreatment, including but not limited to harassment, discrimination, unlawful termination. They can post it publicly, submit a statement to the authorities, or do both for good measure. As long as it was true, it wouldn't be defamatory. The question there, though, and this has been asked many times, is, because people will say this, as long as it's true, it won't be defamatory. The fact is that you still have to prove that it was true to a certain amount of people. So some could claim defame, some could say that it's not. If I'm ever actually accused of a crime or other misdemeanor, including any violation of employee law, I'm sure you'll be able to read all about it on Dexero, or Dexerto. Is that how it's said? For now, it appears that we are in the clear. Okay. That was the thing that happened in 2022? Okay. Let me see. Okay, so you should actually read the thread. Okay, so I guess this is the entire thread? No, it's just more of the thread. Okay. Never publicly made any statements regarding my time, especially from the community. Okay, we've read that. This is, again, we've seen this happen, where some of the fanboys will come out and start making threats. Let me see. My time at the company, mental health to an all-time low. You could talk to anyone around there, me during my employment, and they would confirm it. I would not have recommended anyone I knew work there. We've seen that. Already saw this one as well. Doesn't matter. Okay. Okay, this is the same thing we just read. Consider part of the team. I'm sure I can afford us to move appropriate group. Okay. Perplexing fear that people will leave LTT and start their own platforms. Okay. And just in case y'all are confused, what she means by platform, she doesn't mean like another YouTube site. She basically just means another YouTube channel, or something very similar to that. And what she's saying is that there is some fear that certain people who are very popular at LTT, like Luke, or like, I mean, who else is really popular there? I can't remember their names now. Colton is fairly popular, but he's not really an on-camera guy too much. There are a few other people. Dennis. Dennis is also really popular for some reason. I think it's because he's a big old dork. That's why. But yeah, there are certain people that do have the popularity that they could go out and they could make their own channel. You said thread links. Okay, let me see if I see them here. Okay, let me copy this and let's see. Oh, so this is the whole thing. What is with this ad? Okay, go away, ad. Okay, so it looks like this is the whole thing. Oh, wow, this is long. Okay, well, here we go. We're going to read. We already read this. I was expected to post 3 tweets, 2 Instagram posts, and 2 TikToks minimum per day. That's actually kind of high considering what their content requirements may be. I was also expected to plan, film, edit, and post 2 Floatplane exclusives per week. This included wrangling people to be in them when they were also all struggling to get their work done. That seems reasonable. Reasonable in the sense that I can understand that would probably happen. I was also expected to manage, plan, come up with, execute, get approval for, and schedule out all of the sponsored content on socials, not including YouTube, all while being told not to complain because my job was the fun job. I cannot speak on what it's like now, but they have an entire team working on seemingly what I was expected to accomplish alone. They do. I misspoke originally when I stated that I had signed an NDA. I thought the employee handbook acted as one. I am not a lawyer. Okay, so she did not sign an NDA. I never publicly made any statements regarding my time there because I feared even more backlash. Okay, I also feared for my future in this career given that LTT is large and has industry connections. That's true. My time at the company brought my mental health to an all-time low. Would not recommend. Let's see. Work was called Dog S. I think the baby is not appropriate. Okay, doesn't matter if you think I am or not. Stupid. Okay. Yeah, a lot of the stuff we've already read. Getting a job. Kind of trying to go through it all. This is most of what we've already seen. Barred from being in videos. Give it a platform. In my experience, there is a belief that everything you accomplish, no matter how much it is created by your own effort, is actually due to Linus giving you a platform. This is what I was told when I moved from Arizona to Vancouver to take this job. That's really crappy to say to somebody. After it was publicly announced by Linus that he was hiring me without my knowledge or consent to the situation, and also before I was even offered the job or shown the salary, I agreed and signed the employment contract. Okay. That's been told in my interviews that I would be allowed to monetize my YouTube channel and be allowed to join Floatplane in exchange for shutting down my Patreon. Why? Why would they ask her to shut down her Patreon? Once I moved, I was presented with an entirely new contract handbook that I was not told existed. That's crappy. Okay. I detailed that I was given incorrect information and would actually have to make changes to my plans if I wanted to continue being employed at LTT. This was after I had moved entire countries and given up my visa status. I couldn't just go back. Oh, man. Some corrections were made as my apologies for the miscommunication, but I was still upset. I later went to Linus about this and stated that the effort to remediate the situation wasn't sitting right with me. He told me perhaps I should change my priorities. Oh, F you, dude. What the? Oh, man. Get out of here. Change my priority. Oh, what a... Oh, dude, that's a disgusting thing for him to say, dude. What is wrong with... Oh, man. Jesus, dude. The more I read about this stuff, the more I just really do not like it. Ugh. He was in this instance referring to the fact that my brother had suddenly passed away not even a week before I moved for this job, and that perhaps I should just ignore that I had been misled because that was more important. I cannot tell you how upset I felt in this moment. You know, the more I read about Linus behind the scenes, the more I think this dude is a real bastard. Man. It's weird because there's a part of me that wishes I had never read any of this stuff, but at the same time, I'm glad I did. This dude is coming off as a complete bastard. Like, just... The opportunities LTT presented me were nothing in comparison to the day-to-day issues I faced. We've read that. I did not matter. It did not matter if I spoke to someone with evidence of an abuse of power or inappropriate workplace behavior. It was considered tattletaling. I was actually called a tattletale. What is this? Are there children working in the office? We don't be a tattletale. What are we, 10? Dude. I was told I was bossy when I was trying to be assertive, like I was asked to do. I've actually seen other people being told to be more assertive, and when they are, they're told they're bossy. I've seen that in the office before. It's definitely a thing. I was told I was arguing when I was trying to discuss my point of view. I was told to, quote, calm my tits, stop being such a bitch, and other comments to similar effects. Again, you don't say this to people in the office, man. Only bros talk like this. There were numerous instances of misinformation given to me purposely. Okay, we've read that. Work from home was a whole mess. We've read that too. Yeah, I've contemplated the push daily. No one gets a break. Okay, and we're getting told for 6 days. Let me see. I remember getting told off for taking my 6 days, sick days as in the days you're entitled to. This no days off grind set culminated in the real moment I realized I had to leave. I purposely cut my leg open so badly I would have to go to the ER to get it stapled back together. Damn, man. It was generally the only way in my mind to take a day off without being harassed for a reason. Why? I'd spoken to managers about how I was struggling and the workload. Just had bad time management skills. We read that too. So many incidents that led to that moment. Some of them I have replayed. Okay, I just read that. Was not treated fairly, and in the moment I couldn't even see that because I was told I was the problem by people I had looked up to for years. I had coworkers come to me saying, I didn't like how you were treated, glad you got out, and only then did I realize it wasn't me. You know what? This little line of dialogue here, or content, whatever you want to call it, this statement, it really leads me to believe that Steve from Gamers Nexus is really, really onto something. In the response video to Linus's response, Steve stops, or he's reading through the response that Linus put on the forum, and he reads through it, and he calls out Linus again for gaslighting. And if you're not familiar with gaslighting, basically it's trying to kind of redirect a person into thinking that how they feel or how they are perceived or the world around them is incorrect. They are somehow wrong in a particular situation when they are actually in the right. That's kind of gaslighting. And this whole thing right now, as I'm reading it, it definitely sounds like something that Linus would do. I'm not saying that Linus specifically did these things to her. However, the culture at the company feels like that. Because Steve straight out called out Linus for trying to gaslight people in his response. I wish I could find that actual clip of him doing that. I kind of want to do that. Let me see if I can locate it over here real quick. Let's see. Where is Gamers Nexus?
Brought to you by Arctic and...
Oops, sorry. Let me mute this real quick. Let me see if I can find it. I don't think I'm able to find it very quickly, but... Come on. I apologize. So, how's everybody's morning? Okay, hold on. Let me grab my share. I think I found a part of it. We'll kind of just go through it here. Start it at this minute. Copy that. Okay. Oh, it's going to make me watch an ad.
Bug spray works best.
It's okay. It's Gamers Nexus. I don't mind watching an ad for them. But it should start at about the point where Steve calls out Linus for this. Oh my god. Are you going to make me watch this ad too? Stop it. Let's go.
There's an odd note in the statement about using their notes against them, like as if we're weaponizing their transparency or something. And I want to be clear again. Like the vast majority of the significant errors I found. They're not pinned under their videos. I found them. I went and I looked at the numbers, and I compared their own numbers against their own numbers. And then I found those errors. Right? Like, it's misrepresenting reality here, and it is choosing to ignore it. So here's the deal. If LTT releases a new PR-inspired comment after this, or goes on another rant, we probably won't be responding. This was LMG's chance to take responsibility. And he's shown LMG's true colors and what he as the owner really thinks. And we're greatly disappointed at the tripling down rather than proposing future-looking solutions. And at this point, we wouldn't believe them if they released a new statement to try and undo this one, because it's clear to us what the company's owners thought of these issues. And I can't get over this quote. But we didn't sell it, we auctioned it. Seriously? Like that is what we're gonna open with? Got us. Whatever. We're gonna go back to the rest of hardware news. I'm gonna drop the
10:30 mark? Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I'll go in right before it. Okay, so we can get the quote and everything. Okay.
That's what it is. Like this we're the
10:20.
victims.
Okay.
Feel bad for us. That's what that is. So it's not acceptable behavior. It is embarrassing. And here's one more. Adam and I were talking about this today. He advocated for retesting it, regardless of how non-viable it was as a product at the time. And I think he expressed really well today why it mattered. It was like making a video about a supercar. It doesn't matter if no one watching will buy it. They just want to see it rip. I missed that. But it wasn't because I didn't care about the consumer. It was because I was so focused on how this product impacted a potential buyer. Bullshit. We know why they didn't do it.
I don't know, guys. I'm not sure if I can apologize for not spending another $100, $200, $300, $500 of various people's time.
So I'll wrap this up by saying, look, we had data points in there that were completely ignored. They weren't mentioned at all in any of this. We talked about serious testing issues. We talked about methodological issues. We talked about lack of process. We talked about lack of QC. We talked about the fact that people can look at numbers that are 300% off in some cases, or in the cases of coolers, are just literally incorrect because it was backwards or installed improperly, and how they can get past people. None of that was addressed. This was a layup to say, here's our 10-point plan. Yeah, we f***ed up. Here's what we're going to do to fix it. There's an odd note in the statement about using their notes against them, like as if we're weaponizing their transparency or something. And I want to be clear again. Like the vast majority of the significant errors I found. They're not pinned under their videos. I found them.
Okay, well, we already read through that. That's not the part, I think, that I was looking for. But that's okay. Still a neat little thing here. Let's go back to the note here. Okay, thank you, Steve. Thanks, Steve. We're going to do the thanks, Steve meme. All right, let's see. Where was I? Let me see. Okay, have been shared. Okay, I haven't shared any of this besides with my closest friends and family because I couldn't at the time take any more hits to my mental health. I couldn't deal with how small and worthless the job had made me feel, all to push out some mediocre crap posts. I'm still scared crapless of what the response will be since I'm a woman and have always been called dramatic. I'm not stating what happened to me because I'm seeking clout. I'm stating it because it has been eating at me for 2 years. This is a thing. I've seen this sort of thing happen to women too. Oops, didn't mean to do that. But yeah, that is a thing. Let's see. There are generally amazing, compassionate, incredible people. I didn't ever want to say anything for fear of hurting those people and their employment, but at this point, I am hurting myself keeping it all in while also being constantly bombarded with questions about LTT and jokes made at my expense. I have been patient and tried to ignore these comments, but some of you don't understand the mental anguish and nights of crying, feeling like I did something wrong and ruined my life that I have had to go through. This was my dream job. I'm highlighting that because earlier, was it Joe or was it Moni that had mentioned that that LMG is basically being compared to Activision Blizzard? If you go through some of the old posts talking about what it was like to work at Activision Blizzard, you will see this exact same thing. This was my dream job. And that is why so many people, at least at Activision Blizzard, stayed, because they understood that they were being treated badly, they were being woefully underpaid, but it was their dream job. And so they wanted to try and make it work. Unfortunately, it didn't. It was my dream job, and they spoke to me like I was nothing. I can't express to you how worthless I felt. They seem to hire young people who don't know any better for some roles, and then get away with this over and over. This wasn't just my dream job. It is a dream job. It's true. Again, Activision Blizzard does the same thing. They will hire people who are, fresh out of college, 21, 22 years old, young, never really worked in their lives, and they will, again, woefully underpay them and make them work ridiculous hours. They'll make them crunch endlessly. And as hard as it is on those people's mental health, they try to make it work. Hi, Beam. Unfortunately, we're not talking Pokemon right now. We're talking Tekken, LMG, and Activision Blizzard. There are so many more stories of horrible things and shows of ego that I witnessed while working there, but I just needed to get at least some of what I experienced because it has been 2 years, and every day I see people speculate is another day I'm forced to feel small. Also meant to add, yes, the Glassdoor review was me. Oh, I want to read this Glassdoor review now. It was me. At the time, the only way I felt I could safely express anything that had happened, since any time I had previously tried, I'd be crucified by fans sticking up for who they loved. Yes. Beam's like, I'm here for the drama. It's not just, sure, if you want to call it drama, obviously it is, but this is real drama, real people being affected, so yeah, that's fine. However you want to view it. But this, again, so much of this happens. Oh, that reminds me. I mentioned this in Discord. I don't know if you all read it. And I have independently confirmed that this actually did happen. I actually spent a decent amount of time yesterday, because this was when I found this, it was so revolting that I was like, this can't possibly be real. It was real. Or I should say it is real. Again, connected to LMG. And this isn't necessarily about LMG, the company. It's about their fanboys, their sycophants. A few years ago, there was an NCIX auction. Linus, if you don't know, used to work at NCIX. And he was the one who first started the NCIX YouTube channel. That was kind of where he got his start. And, of course, he left NCIX, went on his own, started his own channel, nice, wildly successful. Well, NCIX went out of business. And so there was going to be an auction to auction off all the stuff that NCIX had left because they had gone out of business and they owed creditors. And so Linus goes to the auction because he's interested in purchasing a few things. Well, he goes to the auction, and one of the things he wanted was the silver play button that he had helped earn when he was at NCIX. That was like one of the things he really wanted. So he goes to the auction. There's another guy there who ends up buying the silver play button, which is fair game. It's an auction. If you outbid a certain person, that's fine. Well, so this other person wins the silver play button that Linus really wanted. Linus goes up to the person and was like, hey, I really, really want this play button. This is why. And he tells him, he's like, yeah, I worked for NCIX and I pretty much helped to get this play button. It has sentimental value to me. I'd really, really like it. Would you let me buy it from you? And at the time, the kid was like, well, you know, I really, really want this. And, you know, and the reason the kid wanted it was because he had his own YouTube channel. I think it was called Mind Chop. No space in between or anything, just Mind Chop. You can actually search for it. It's still there online and everything. He has this channel called Mind Chop. And he had been, you know, making videos like crazy and trying to, you know, do the thing that we all on YouTube try to do. We try to get views, we try to get subscribers and all that. And he had been working at it, and he couldn't quite get the silver play button. So he and his dad went to that auction and were like, oh, well, let's just buy a silver play button. Even though it's not like actually earning it, at least I'll have a silver play button. So they buy it and everything. And eventually he turns Linus down. And Linus, for you know, to be fair to Linus was like, okay, all right. You know, he let it go. Kind of sad. But at the same time, you know, Linus kind of been like, all right, you know, I understand. And so he does his best to let it go. His fanboys, on the other hand, oh, hell no. They went to that poor guy's channel, and on pretty much every video that he had, they threatened him. They told him to end his life. They told him they hoped that he would die, that he was a terrible person. Pretty much every horrible thing you could possibly think to say to somebody. They just were relentless. And so they kept doing that on all of his videos. And not only would they leave the comments, of course, they downvote and all this other crap that they do. And so that kid just got sick of it, and he's like, I can't deal with this anymore, and he stops making videos. He left the channel up, but he stopped making videos. And apparently, from what I found, is for about a year or so, he had stopped making videos, and he talked to his dad, and he was like, yeah, I really like making videos, but those people keep coming back, and, you know, they're attacking me and all this stuff. Dad's like, no, if you really like making videos and it makes you happy, then go do that. You know, screw those guys. You know, trying to be a dad, trying to be there for your son, right? Because he had realized that his son had started getting really depressed because he wasn't really able to do what he liked doing, which was the YouTube thing. So Dad tells him to go back, start making the videos again. So he does. And for a little bit, it's fine. But then the fanboys find him again. They realize he's posting again. And what do? Same thing. They start threatening him, telling him to do terrible things to himself, all that stuff. Well, unfortunately, that kid couldn't take it anymore, and he ended his life. That's not a joke. That's not, you know, me being over the top. He ended his life. He is no longer with us. And it was very, very hard on his parents, obviously, to lose their son. And even after he ended his life, and it was made public that he had ended his life, people continued to go back to the channel and post horrible things. We're glad you're dead. You know, you should have done it sooner. You know, terrible things like that. Just horrible things. And so obviously the video stopped coming. And so the parents obviously had to bury their son. And what makes this even worse is that the mother went into a very deep depression, and this is according to the father now, because the father's telling the story here. The mother goes into a deep depression, and she was so distraught with losing her son in that way that she ended up taking her own life too. Again, that's not a joke. It's not fake. It is real. I checked it out, confirmed it. If you want to see the link, because it was originally posted on Reddit. That's where I first saw the story. Somebody shared it with me, and I first saw the story there, and that's why I was saying I don't know, because a lot of stuff on Reddit, questionable at best. It's Reddit, you know, people just make stuff up. But I checked it out, and I checked with other sources. I checked the actual YouTube channel. I went through several of the videos, checked all the comments, and yeah, they're there. The terrible comments are there. It's a true story. So not only the father, of course, is the one who's left now. Not only did he lose his son, then he lost his wife. So basically 2 people are now no longer with us because these degenerates, these terrible people, decided to go and make threats and bully the crap out of this poor kid in his channel because Linus couldn't win a play button. And again, I'm not putting this on Linus because Linus has several times told people and told his fans, dude, don't do that, don't harass people, don't go after them, leave them alone. But of course, a lot of them don't listen. So yeah, if you want to see that, I have it here in Discord somewhere. Where did I put it? Was it in tech? No, it was not in tech. Hold on. I'm trying to find it here. Oh crap, there's too much stuff here. That's Leon Lee stuff. Okay, let me see if I can just do a quick search for it. Let's go over here. Let's see. Here it is. This is a very... Yeah. It's actually just really, really sad to see this. And like I said, when you realize that it is actually true, it's horrible. Yeah, my son built a tiny YouTube channel named Mindchop years ago. Due to legal issues with his MCN, he was not able to get a silver play button. I brought him to the NCIX bankruptcy auction to buy one with the hopes of engraving it with his channel name. Okay, so it looks like he actually did earn the play button. I apologize for that information. I'm glad I'm able to correct it here. But he actually technically did earn a play button, but he didn't get it because of his MCN. Anyway, we bought it from the auction fair and square, and yet you demanded we hand it over to you. We said no, and you got your fans to harass my son and flooded his channel with dislikes and hateful comments. Again, this is the father directing his anger at Linus, who does post a response here. He stopped making videos, fell into deep depression. He wasn't good with school. He was always bullied, but found love in making videos. He expressed desire in making more videos. I encouraged him to continue. We hoped your toxic fans would finally leave us alone. I created this Reddit account for him to use in the future. He posted another video last year after a long hiatus, but your fans still continued to harass him. He ended his life in August. My wife couldn't bear to have any more Christmases without our son, and she ended her life just before Christmas. I am alone now. I have nothing left. I hate you, Linus Sebastian. You built your empire, destroying the lives of others. I do not know why people idolize you. You are a monster. Yeah. And here, again, like I said, to Linus's credit, he did respond. Your son seemed like a really kind person. Even though he won the auction fair and square, he offered to sell the play button to me for what he paid. I was so moved by his generosity that I called off the deal because I felt he should have it due to the unfair situation with his former MCN. I'm deeply saddened to hear about his passing. I respect anyone who can build the kind of following he did on YouTube. It's not easy, and I would never send anyone to harass one of my fellow creators. This behavior for some viewers was brought to my attention in the hours after our video went public, and I made a statement specifically condemning the behavior and calling out what a great guy your son was. Here's the link if you want to see it. It was from a few days after, let me see, a few days after the auction. Okay, so apparently there's a link to a video there. I was very emotional when I first approached you guys about the plaque. It held a lot of sentimental value for me. As I said before, in just a few minutes with your son, I was so impressed by his graciousness that I no longer wanted to buy it because I felt he should have it instead. I said this in my video, and it's what I still believe. Here's a link to our interaction at the auction, and it shows the actual interaction there. I would hate for you to think I have anything but respect for your son and everything accomplished. I feel it would be best to lock this thread since there are already some comments that I do not feel are being respectful to you and your situation, Linus. So, like I said, in all credit to Linus in this situation, he has told his sycophants again and again not to harass people, but there are jerks out there. They're gonna do terrible things like this. But yeah, to lose not just his son, but also his wife. That's horrifying, dude. That's absolutely horrible. Yeah. Yeah, they just. I wouldn't even call these people fans, because I think they're just looking. Some of them were probably just looking for reasons to go and harass somebody. That's what some people do. That's like their whole life on the internet. They just want to go and stir up trouble and see what happens. They kind of like, I hate to say it, but kind of like what Alfred said in The Dark Knight. Some men just want to watch the world burn. They just want to start a fire and watch it burn. And that's what a lot of these people do. Yeah, it was very, you know. So that's what I'm saying. This is, I'll definitely give him credit for this. Yeah, he tried here, and he was very. It looks like he was very sincere too. So I'll give him all the credit there. But yeah, that's what I had mentioned. I told you earlier about how I wanted to mention Mindshot, because this is another thing that has recently been brought back to light with all the stuff that's going on. Let me see. Where else were we? Posted a response on Twitter. If it would have made the situation a lot worse, it probably would have. Yeah, because I've noticed with Reddit, there is obviously some crossover between Twitter and Reddit, but it feels an awful lot like there is still some separation. Like, I generally don't ever go to Reddit. I actually have a Reddit account, but I pretty much never use it. I don't spend any sort of extended periods of time on Reddit at all. In fact, most of my interaction with Reddit, period, is if I'm searching for something, like for some information, sometimes it will lead me to a Reddit thread. That's about it. I don't generally ever go to Reddit. I know a lot of people like to go to Reddit every day, and that's fine, but just some of the stories that I've heard are a bit scary. But I guess you could really say that about any place. Like Twitter, there's a certain amount of toxicity on Twitter for sure. Absolutely. Every place is like that. Imgur, I run into the same stuff over there too. You know, YouTube, heck yeah. Going back to Miss Madison. Here we go. Let's see. It hurts when people compare where I am now to where I was then, because yeah, I had a bigger audience, but I made more. Yeah, I made more money on Twitch, but I didn't know if I wanted to even exist. If the person I had looked up to could treat me and other people I respected like pawns. It sucks because that was what I had worked for years. I tried to get noticed by this big company and this cool guy I respected. Because of that, I was willing to get crapped on for that job, yelled at and degraded. Let's see. Oh my god. I was also the one tasked with managing the OnlyFans account, something I said I didn't want to do. I had to read comments from people talking about how they wanted to F me and my coworkers. I saw people's things and things. I said no and was told only a little longer. So they basically forced her into doing the OnlyFans account. And I don't think I have to explain what OnlyFans is, or what it's popular for. If you want to say that I am just hopping on a bandwagon, that's fine. It doesn't take away the very real experiences I had, or that sharing these without current events would have gotten me would have gotten me persecuted for attacking a company most of you until a few days ago thought was perfect. They also forced me to have them as my representative. If I wanted to take any sponsors for my Twitch or what? They also forced me to have them as my representative if I wanted to take any sponsors for my Twitch or YouTube channels. Originally I'd been told just make sure you okay things by us for non-compete issues. Then that changed when I moved to take the job. To be clear, this meant that I couldn't seek any companies to represent me to brands for sponsorships, something important for making a living on Twitch and YouTube. That's very true. But LTT also wasn't doing this for me. They were just going to take any traffic I gained myself and make a deal and take a cut. Gross. I eventually got all the money back that they would have taken when I called out that before their calculations for the cut they should have been taking were being made before any sort of supplies were reimbursed. Even though in the contracts there was a set aside amount of supplies. I'm sorry, some for grammar here is throwing me off a little bit. I'm still angry that for a year I was being forced to sit under them while they weren't doing anything a company would do to really represent you. And then somehow a big corporation gets the math wrong on how they should be paying you. That sounds like an MCN. That's why I think MCNs are stupid. I.e., a company is paying you $600 and $100 they are giving you specifically to spend on their platform for the content. The cut LTT was trying to take was of the total $700, not the $600. That was the actual payment. I had to talk to multiple people before that was rectified. Also, apparently some managers didn't like me because I, quote, hadn't gotten drunk with them. Okay, that was, yeah, we've already read that. Assaulted some Lonnie's corporate and contact on Twitter. Came over to my corner. Okay, started berating her. Saw that too. Also, my brother in the corner. People would sneak up and try to scare me. After the incident, I was nervous about this and requested a mirror so I could see behind me. I watched coworkers get what I had asked for weeks before they did. It took 2 months to get mine. Some other things would happen whenever I requested anything. I needed more RAM installed in my PC for months because I was expected to edit red footage. Okay. If you don't understand what red footage is, and this is strangely enough, I am actually getting more RAM for my PC because you all know I obviously edit all my own videos. I only record in 1080p because unfortunately that's the best camera I have right now. I don't have a 4K camera. Red footage is notorious. Red is a brand of camera. It's like a professional grade camera. And they are notorious because their bit rates and their video quality are extremely high. Extremely high. I'm talking like 8K. It's very, very high. And because it's so high, the amount of data that you would have to have cached in your RAM when editing a video gets eaten up really, really fast. It's very, very big. So even like a 10-minute video, it's going to absolutely annihilate your RAM. Yeah, exactly, Joe. It is a computer hog. Rightfully so. I mean, the footage looks amazing. It's beautifully detailed. The colors are usually really good, everything like that. But you need a computer with the horsepower that can handle it. And if you've got a computer with 16 gigabytes of RAM, that is not going to cut it. Absolutely not. If you're editing red footage, I think at minimum is probably 64, if not 128. Red, another questionable company. That's true. That's a whole other different thing. But yeah, that's what red footage is. It's basically just a camera, a very nice camera that records in 8K, and the footage just eats up resources on your computer like mad. That's why she needed more RAM. It took 5 months and a writer being kind enough to do it for me when the numerous requests I sent in were ignored or put off. How do you do that? I mean, she literally has to produce these videos on her own, as she mentioned earlier. She has to produce these videos that you know are going to eat up all the RAM on her PC, yet you won't go and give her more RAM. And again, this is a tech company. How do you not have, a kit of 128 gigabytes of RAM laying around somewhere? How do you not have that? How can you not procure that? Kind of insane. Used to edit for Red and had to upgrade from 64 to 128. Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah, because as it is right now, I have 32 on mine. But even then, there are times where I am butting up right against the limit. So I recently, actually just this past Monday, made the decision that I'm bumping up to 64 now. And I specifically bought a 2-stick kit, because right now I have 32 gigs in 4 sticks. But I purposely bought a 2-stick kit of 64, so if I want to, I can basically just buy the same brand and everything and stick that in there, and so I'll have 128 total if I decide that I need to grow. So there you go. Still lagged on Xenon and Quadro systems. I would go to management for help and get told I could handle it myself. Eventually, I was pulled into a meeting for insubordination because I had gone around the system for requesting RAM after I was ignored for months and dealing with my PC crashing and losing work daily. There was an incident where I requested a $15 notebook. Keep in mind, I had made $25 of purchase requesting in my entire time working at the company. I requested this notebook to help with my poor time management skills. Denied. You don't need it. You have lined paper. Okay. I was upset and responded back that this was different. No. Then bam, another meeting. Madison, why were you rude and non-communicative with this manager? I didn't mean to be told... I was told no. What? Okay, yeah, again, her grammar's throwing me off a little bit here. It's not correct, but that's fine. I didn't mean to be I was told no, but then I got in trouble because they said they didn't know I was still upset. Cut to me being at my desk and I get a message saying, I did know you were still upset because you never emailed me back. Okay. They had lied in front of the big boss to make me look bad, and worst of all, I knew it. If I brought this up, I would be the one getting reprimanded for tattling. The whole tattling thing. There were also numerous times I would be asked why I couldn't just check up on socials or do little jobs for during the weekend because it's social media. So it really is it really working? No, absolutely not. If an employer tells you to just do little things on the weekends, I will say this. Okay, if they ask you to do it and they pay you for your time, then okay, that's different. But if they just say, oh, just go do this stuff, and they don't pay you, absolutely not. If in her contract, and again, we don't know this, if in her contract it specifically says you work Monday through Friday, X time to X time, this is your salary. If they ask you then to work beyond what was in your contract, that is stealing from you. They are, no joke, they are stealing from you, and that is illegal, at least here in the United States. I don't know how it works in Canada. I imagine it's probably very similar. Do not ever do that. If they ask you to work on the weekend and it's outside your contract, you tell them, you need to pay me. I will not do this until you have something in writing that says I am going to be paid X amount for this. I completely understand. Imagine telling someone in 2021 social media isn't a real job. That is an insult. That is an absolute insult. There is a reason I spend so much time on Twitter, guys. It's not just me messing around and screwing with people and chit-chatting back and forth. I actually do work on Twitter. I have to, because obviously my YouTube channel isn't just going to magically get discovered by people. My card store isn't magically going to produce sales. You know, all that stuff. There's a reason why people have, or companies have, social media managers. That crap takes forever. It does. It takes forever. You got to, set up links. You got to get pictures. You got to write this thing correctly. You got to schedule it correctly at the right times. And then you have to monitor when you get the most responses to certain things, so you can start setting up your schedule to accommodate for that. It is a job. I will just say that. It is a job. I'm sure there will be more things I remember and wish I had mentioned in this thread in the coming hours, but for now, please don't attack individuals who don't actually have power in this company. Okay, she said that before. Also, why didn't you take legal actions? I had just quit my job, was scared S-less of this company, felt like I was worthless, and personally, I don't have millions of dollars to throw at legal fees. That's another true thing. People are always, why don't you take legal action? Dude, even here in the U.S., I've been told that a few times. Why don't you take legal action? Dude, do you have $2,000 to immediately give to a lawyer to retain them? Most people don't. That's why most people don't get involved in the whole legal system if they don't have to. We just don't have the money to pay for a lawyer. And a good lawyer is not cheap. If you want a bargain barrel one, you can probably afford one for a few $100, but you're going to get crap results. If you want one that's actually going to fight for you, minimum retainer is $1,500 minimum, and most people don't have that to just pull out of their pocket and say, here you go. Completely understand this. When I left, I was told that they would announce I parted ways with the company on WAN show. I said no, unless you make sure you clearly state that I quit. Then they never mentioned it on the WAN show. Yep. Well, there it is, man. That's a lot to take in, man. That's a lot of stuff. And like I said, I believe her because I don't think that there would be any reason for her to lie about this. I really don't. Come on, man. Just take me to Twitter. There we go. Yeah, I really don't see any reason why she would lie about this sort of stuff. And again, ooh, hold on, my boss is calling me. Let me see, March 10th. Well, okay, hold on. Well, how did she post this? These are all older posts. Oh my god. Dude, look at this post. Oh my god. What the Oh. Okay. Dude, that's good. It's kind of gross, but it's good. Can you read this? Oh my god. I'm sorry. That was really good. I'm gonna laugh at this for like an hour. Like I said, it's a bit gross, but that's damn funny. That is damn funny. Okay, sorry. That's actually funny too. Oops, something went wrong. Yeah, it's not coming up under replies. I wonder if I have to be logged in. Yeah, it's gonna tell me I have to be logged in. That's okay. I'll what is this? Join us, 1,000 plus girls. No thanks. Some of these ads, man. I'm using Firefox. This isn't my standard browser that I use. I use Chrome. But I don't feel like revealing all of the personal information that I have plastered all over my various bookmarks and stuff, so yeah. But yeah, that Madison needs her own thread. Let me see. I'm going back to the LTT thread here. Tech men abusing a young woman. That is about as surprising as winter in Canada. It's actually true. That's been a thing forever, pretty much. Hey, hi. Hey, hi. And that makes it acceptable. Please keep your... No, I don't think he was saying this to dismiss it. I think he was saying that he's not surprised it happened. Huh. There you go. See? I didn't say it was acceptable. I meant that it makes me tend to believe her. Yeah. That's another reason why she is so believable. One, because she comes off as very earnest and honest, and women getting treated badly in tech is nothing new. It's been happening for decades. I know that there are some women in leadership positions now, but that whole thing of treating female employees badly, it's still a thing. It happens all the time. I did put in a ton that it was merged into this one. What is happening right now? We're discussing the LTT stuff that's going on right now. Over the last 2 days, it's been like it's been like just like an explosion of information coming out. Remember Tech Babes? I never heard of Tech Babes, or maybe I did and I just don't remember. But yeah, wasn't there like I don't remember hearing about it. I remember I know that in the tech world, women often are kind of seen more as props than actual, you know, leaders or even just regular employees. Like whenever I remember back in, you know, I don't know if they still do this. I'm sure to some extent they do in some parts of the world. But whenever new products would come out, like new GPUs or new processors and stuff, they'd always have those models. The girls that are dressed in kind of the skimpy sort of dresses, and they would sit there and be like, look, this is a video card. And of course, you know, you stick the pretty girl by a video card and it draws attention to it, that kind of thing. I wouldn't say that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, if the woman wants to do that kind of work, that's fine. I just don't think that we should consider that every single woman in tech is basically that, which some tech bros think that they are. Especially when you've got CEOs like Lisa Su, the CEO for AMD. She leads the entire company, and she's a doctor. Yeah, Dr. Lisa Su. Yeah, so women have definitely proven themselves in the tech world. Scantily, it's a negative stereotype. That it is. Discuss the mod team. What I'm going to do for now, carry on discussing here. Oh, okay, so that's a moderator. Okay, so that's more of the thread. Here's a bad summary. Oh, okay. So that's just somebody following up on that. Oh, here's the video. Yeah. It's still live, obviously. So yeah, they have no problem with profiting off of her. Because I can tell you right now, most people that see this, they may, I guess some people would click it because, oh, it's a Linus video, but they're like, oh, girl, let's click. It's a girl. And then, like I said, not only that, but she is absolutely hilarious in this video. Absolutely hilarious. I think at this point we've kind of covered most of the big stuff that's been kind of going the last couple of days as far as what's up with LTT. I mean, I guess at this point we should summarize it. I mean, everybody had this idea that they were like this flawless company when obviously they're not. They've got problems. They got big problems. They have a bro problem. And like I said, I don't... Unless they start firing a couple of people, I don't know if they're going to be able to get rid of that bro problem. Especially since the face of the company is a bro. And until he realizes that he can't do that anymore, you know, he needs to find ways to stop himself, basically, from doing these sorts of things or acting a certain way or saying certain phrases and whatnot. Until he learns that, this company's not going to get any better. Because again, when you see your leader doing these things, a lot of people would just assume, well, I guess it's okay. And so they start doing it. I can guarantee you that's how most of these people ended up being how they are. You know, again, it's fine if you actually are that way, but when you step into a business setting, a business office, you need to understand that there should be a certain level of decorum. And if you can't do that, if you can't even have the most basic, you know, common courtesy toward people, then you shouldn't be running a business. You just shouldn't. And maybe that in itself, you know, the fact that Taryn is now the CEO, that's probably a good thing then. And I think that Taryn, as the new CEO, needs to really put it out there like, look, we cannot do this bro stuff anymore. We just can't. It's going to kill the company. And he wouldn't be wrong if he said that. I have no idea. Maybe he's already done that. We don't know. But I would hope that he does, because if they don't, eventually the whole, you know, the novelty of the bro jokes and stuff gets old. It really does. And again, I understand you can be funny and silly and stuff in videos, but save that for the videos. Don't do that in the office. They've had employee problems for years in response for how he doesn't pay his employees enough. He posted pictures of the manager's Teslas outside the office. That is pretty tone deaf. Well, of course the managers are going to own Teslas. What about your basic writer? You know, what about, you know, your social media person? What about, you know, your camera people? I hope they get paid well. I mean, and even then, I would hope that he has to pay them a certain amount, because Vancouver, from what I understand, is not a cheap place to live. I don't know if it's as expensive as LA, but it's pretty damn expensive. It's very expensive to live in Vancouver, so that he has to pay a good wage. And if he doesn't, oof. It's on his Twitter. Those kinds of responses that he's posted, if you go back over the last few years, you'll notice that's a trend with him. He does that a lot. Where when somebody makes a critical comment about him or about the company, he posts this, oh look, you know, and he kind of dismisses it. It feels like he's been very dismissive about this sort of stuff. And I think that's why it's all come to a head. Because Steve, from Gamers Nexus, Steve, wasn't afraid to call him on his BS publicly, which I think needed to happen, because other people have tried it, but look what happened to them. Yeah, look what happened to some of these other people. They got absolutely crucified by the fan base. Steve, on the other hand, I think he himself has a very strong following, and he has made a reputation for himself that he doesn't screw around. When it comes to his reporting and his numbers, if it's a product they're looking at or whatever, he does not mince words. He does not, you know, sure, he can say little jokes here and there and it's kind of funny, but for the most part, he is a straight shooter. And that's always how he's been. That is his brand, basically. That's why so many people trust Steve. And so when you have somebody like Steve posting a video like this, it really makes people think, you know, if Steve is saying this publicly, there's probably something to it. Yeah, you're right. Steve is probably the only person who could have made this happen. Anybody else would have been absolutely inundated with hate. And even then, Steve, thank you for the follow. Even then, I'm sure Steve and probably some of his employees have gotten DMs or private messages or even comments. I'm sure there's comments on the YouTube videos. I mean, even just, again, me going back to Twitter, there are a ton of people giving Steve crap. And I'm like, but how is he wrong? Seriously, hate on Steve all you want, but how is he wrong? And they can never answer it because he's not wrong. He is not wrong. You can make up excuses for why he did this video. Oh, well, he's mad because Linus snubbed him. And dude, put that personal BS behind you, man. That does not make Steve wrong about this, because he's not. The video quality is crap from LTT. The data that they share is crap. The way that obviously they treat their employees is crap. The sycophants, the big time fans need to just, you know, put their emotions aside and just look at what's being presented. In a way, you could kind of look at it, and I hate to, you know, make this political or anything. I don't want to do that. But look at the way that people look, or look at the way the Trump fans look at him. They look at him like he can do no wrong. Like he's perfect. Oh, they're just trying to, you know, they're only indicting him because they hate him and they're afraid of him and he's going to make America great. All that crap. It's the same sort of mindset. It's the same mentality. Same thing. They will defend Trump to the death, just like some people will do the same thing with Linus. That's why I say I'm glad Steve, of all people, did it. He knew going in that he was probably going to lose a certain amount of subscribers and get a lot of hate and all that stuff. But again, he's not wrong, man. Not a single person on Twitter or on any of the social medias has told me that Steve is wrong, because they know deep down he's not. He is right. He is absolutely right. And the good thing about the way Steve did all this is that he stayed in his lane. His lane is tech. That's his thing. He knows tech. He knows GPUs. He knows CPUs. He knows testing fans and testing coolers. That's his thing. He gets in the nuts and bolts. He's in the weeds for that stuff, and that's good. So he knows he's good. He knows his team is good at doing these things. So yes, if he's going to watch your content and tell you if it's good or not, you know he's probably right. Yeah, this is one of those things, man. The LTT tech bro fanboys don't want to admit it, but he's right. Steve is right. And I say this admittedly, the thing is, I subscribe to both Steve's channel and Linus's channel, and I've been subscribed to both of their channels for years. Yeah, Steve has been around for a long time. A lot of people don't realize that because he's not nearly as big as Linus, but Steve's been around forever. I remember when they were still working in the house. Do you remember that? When he basically turned his house into an office. And I remember when he would he did these videos, the kind of the behind the scenes videos where it was like him, Patrick, and like one other guy. I forget who it was, but they were all basically working in the house, where one bedroom was the set that they would use. Another bedroom was basically the office, where all three of them would sit and work on their computers and do all the testing and all the editing and stuff. Yeah. I remember that, dude. Did you see the video with the Steve hair? And I know Steve gets a lot of compliments about his long hair. It actually looks pretty nice. But some of his very, very early videos, if you go back and watch some of the very first videos, take a look at his hair. It looks weird. He's got the Steve hair, and we tease him a little bit about it. It's good-natured teasing. We all kind of go through that awkward phase, with hair or whatever. But yeah, he had the Steve hair, but now it's long, and he is Tech Jesus now. He grew into his role. Yes, that's true. He did have a blog back in the day as well. Surprised. Let me see. Can we go to the last page here? See if there's any new updates. 18 minutes ago. I wonder if you really did read everything. Here are some of the pretty direct. Okay. Let me see. Again, are you sure about what she says? She says that the senior management strongly criticized her work and abilities. Is that verbal abuse? We are provided no Yes, we are provided context. We are provided no context. She gives context. The whole thread is phrased like she was verbally abused, but we have no real example of abuse, saying your last video was crap, maybe impolite, but not. If you do this over and over again, which she shows a pattern of this happening, that is abusive. Also, it's not clear who did the alleged harassment. You conflate both the verbal abuse and the, let's call it, inappropriate behavior to be from the same people, but it's not clear. Okay. Let's address this. If it is from one person in the office, that's horrible. Because obviously that person has been allowed to remain employed by the company, even as they continue to do this, even after she stated that she went to upper management about her concerns about this very issue. That in itself shows a failure on management's part to not do anything to protect their employees. That is horrifying. If it is not one person, that means that this behavior is being perpetrated by several employees, which is just as bad. This does not make it better, whether it's one person or if it's 10 people. It still shows that those people were allowed to continue to work there, and her concerns, when addressed to upper management, were not taken seriously because those people continued to work there. And they continued to behave that way. Everything is so vague, so undermined, completely out of... Dude, it is in context. How much more context do you need? Oh my god. Okay, yeah, this dude definitely did not read this. He did not read this. I'm sorry, Rachna, you didn't read the whole thing. Nothing is out of context. She made very specific and pointed statements here. The only thing she didn't do as to not get anybody in trouble or as to not cause any sort of legal ramifications was she didn't name names. Which I understand why people don't do that. Because like I said, if she starts naming names and she doesn't have any way to clearly prove 100% that this is something that happened, those people can sue her. Oh, I'm sorry. Rachna. That's right. Thank you for correcting me there, Joe. Rachna is not saying this. Ricardo is saying this. I apologize. I'm not familiar with the LTT forums, but thank you for pointing that out. Okay, so apparently Ricardo is saying this, not Rachna. I'm sorry, Rachna. My bad. This person is saying this, and Rachna is responding to him. Okay. So here we go. Again, everything is so vague, undetermined, completely out of context. Things that are perfectly legitimate behavior described in the detail, like not putting a mirror in an office per employee request, like what the F. There's a reason why she asked for the mirror. Are mixed with vague descriptions of what could be serious crimes, like they are related. They are related. Except it's not stated that there's any relation. I'm sorry, but I read this and I feel like I'm being manipulated into outrage and it doesn't feel right. If it happens in the office, it's related. Okay? If you complain, if an employee complains to management and they never address these problems, it's related. That's how corporations work. That's how office politics and whatnot work, or should work. Some office politics is pretty bad, but this is how it's supposed to work. I just, the only thing I can think of is that HR, because they say they do have an HR department now. HR apparently was made aware by Madison. She says here that she made them aware on several occasions. I imagine that's who she went to when she talks about upper management. If not HR, then she actually went to the managers themselves. Still, nothing was done. Because according to her thread here, she went to management, like 4 or 5 times about this. And no, yeah, just like you say there, sexual harassment is not legitimate behavior. Let's call it, yes, going and touching somebody without their permission is inappropriate behavior. You can't do that even in real life, much less an office. It's like whether you're touching their back, their bottom, or whatever, you just don't do that. You don't do that stuff, man. You don't call them names like she said here. You don't call them this. Who does this in an office setting? You don't do this. This is not acceptable. The person who did this, or the people who did this, like I said, they should have been at least written up. That's as disgusted as I am by what happened, pertaining to the Steve video, the Gamers Nexus video. This posting makes it even worse. The fact that they let this happen. And it really is a sad state of affairs when somebody, and again, this is me showing maybe a little bias or something here. I think Madison is hilarious. I really do. I think she is effing funny. That, to me, is an incredibly entertaining person. And they basically pushed her out. They forced her to leave. Because it's like, well, if she said to herself, if I stay, it's going to start affecting my mental health even more. Because it already was. There's a GoFundMe for her. Oh, that's nice. Oh, where is this person? Okay, well, apparently he's responding to somebody. Let me see if it takes me back to... Oh, no, it didn't do that. I was hoping it would... Let me see. Jump to this post. Okay, good. Let's see that. Well, where's the post? It was supposed to jump me to that post. It didn't... Hold on. Wait, hold on, go back. I want to read this. Oh, who is this person? Daytona Dragon, you're full of crap. Go away. Fake. You don't wait 2 years to come out with it if this is true. You show evidence and the timing is all... Dude, he has no idea how the mind of an abused person works. This man or woman, whoever this is, they have no idea. Some people that are abused or assaulted, they won't talk about it for years. They just won't. It's too difficult for them. Yeah, it's... Who is he to say if it is or is not? Okay, you said bottom comment. I don't see it here. Well, hold on. Let me back over here. Oh, here we go. HR... Okay. Well, this is the same one. Hold on. Here we go. Okay. She comes off as someone who was excited to go to work, but the group she thought was going to be a few new friends and family job, and then reality set in she was expected to work and to deal with problematic personalities, so that you have to deal with in any company. If there was true harassment, then go to HR. If there is no HR, then you get a lawyer. Otherwise, again, not everybody can just go get a lawyer, man. That's not how this works. Otherwise, you're just whining about your job after you left. Probably a mix of dysfunction at the workplace and oversensitivity on her part. The timing of this tells me she's just looking for notoriety. Oh my god, what a jackass. Either way, this is something better. This is something better of handling by the company behind closed doors. Obviously, they didn't handle it, buddy. Not you, Weed Killer, whoever this person is. Weed Killer says, absolutely nonsense. HR exists to protect the company and not the staff. That is true. Harassment does not need to be handled behind closed doors. Another deflection. History is full of examples of things being behind closed doors. See the Catholic Church. And that only serves to protect the company who has all of the resources. This is 100% true. HR would sooner fire the person making the accusation than to actually address the problem. Again, having worked in corporate offices, this is true. Yeah. Yeah, some of this stuff is just insane. Again, to think that people can just go right out and get a lawyer is kind of asinine, especially when you're talking about a non-native person working at a Canadian company. How would that work? How much more expense would there be because of that? Can't say for certain. I believe her. I really do. Again, I don't see any reason for her to lie about this sort of stuff. I really don't. Oh, is this the Glassdoor review? Here we go. Disappointed with treatment, would not recommend. Social media coordinator. A lot of talented people employ bonding activities, so those are the pros. Contras, no proper or explained HR system. Sexist remarks, coded language, and harassment were commonplace. Inappropriate actions, comments, and discussions frequently occurred. That we've seen this even in his videos. Yeah, we've seen this even in the videos. Including discussion about employees' bodies, appearances, clothes, and wealth. Upper middle management frequently misused power. No way to report most incidents without issue, since the HR team was also upper management. That is true. This needs to be separated. Feedback was consistently harsh and not constructive. Inappropriate language was commonly used while giving feedback. Meeting with unbalanced power dynamics were commonplace. That, again, I can see that happening there. Gaslighting situations frequently occurred. Absolutely does happen there. Unbiased third parties were never present or easily able to be requested in these meetings. Lack of proper communication between management and employees. Outside vendors frequently frowned upon or limited by the company. Stop dismissing complaints because everyone is friends here. It's a workplace, not a group hangout session. Get a proper HR team and take reports of harassment and inappropriate conduct seriously. Don't dismiss employees' complaints. This is, again, that whole employees and friends. That kind of makes me think about some of these big corporations, how they come out and they say, oh, we're all family here, you know, that kind of thing. This feels very much like that. This feels, yeah, if I work with somebody, I can be friendly with them, but in the office, they are my coworker. Okay? That's the dynamic in an office. If I'm at work and we're working and we're on the clock, we're coworkers. Seems like, yeah. Anyways, I think we're done. Yeah, we've pretty much discussed everything we can. We've been here, well, I've been here 2 hours and 38 minutes. Thanks for hanging out. I'll be over on Twitter, probably going over more of the stuff. And also I got to do some of my Twitter stuff that I have to do today. Oh, and I still have to produce a short. I will be producing a short here momentarily, and I'll upload it. Maybe it'll go live at like 11. Look at the top comment. Did I miss something? Why do they need to address anything? It'd be a matter between LMG and Madison. We don't need to get involved with it. I avoid purchasing anything from Amazon due to the treatment of their employees. I avoid purchasing anything from LMG due to the treatment of their employees. Is that what you wanted me to look at? I posted a meme that aged like milk. Where did you post it? In the memes channel. Okay. It's going to be extremely hardcore. If you're not at work for a day, you're fired. If you're sleeping at your desk, you're fired. It is kind of weird how some of these things... Again, this is kind of one of those instances where Linus himself makes this sort of thing into a joke. He's like, oh, we don't really do this. But then you have to think, well, do they? I feel like this actually does happen. And the second from the top. Yeah, somebody bad takes in this thread. These allegations should have been investigated when they happen, but there are many reasons she would feel like she didn't want to be the whistleblower. She did post her employer review or whatever. Said she did not report at the time. For anything that can be, it should be investigated now. As for her claim of having too much work, if it was too much work for her, she shouldn't have accepted the job. Sounds like she was pressured to take the job. So yeah, more bad. 3 tweets, 2 Instagrams, and 2 TikToks. Yeah, I'm not buying that as too much. No, it can be. You have to produce content for each of these. And again, she had also meant that she was still asked to do 2 videos for Floatplane per week, in which she had to wrangle together the people that were supposedly going to be in the video along with a topic. That is a lot of work. What am I looking at? Madison is in the meme picture? Is she? Is that her? Hold on. Oh, that's her mirror. Okay. I see it. Okay. Are you sure that's her? I mean, I see the hair, but... Okay. Wow, if that was really their working conditions, that looks like it sucks. Yeah, that really looks like it sucks. I would not want to work there. That is hardly even a proper working space. Ugh. Yeah, I'm not buying that as too much workload. You don't know, dude. You don't... Making this comment is irresponsible because he sincerely doesn't know. He's never worked there. He's never had to work in production, so he doesn't know. I know people who do close that, and it isn't their full-time job. The only difference would be Facebook instead of TikTok. So unless TikTok somehow takes way longer... Dude, you have to produce a video for TikTok. It can take time to produce a proper video for TikTok, especially when you have to take into account sponsorships as well. So you have to produce, what, 2 of these, it says? And this is stuff she had to do every day. So she's making 2 TikToks. I imagine, to be fair, that the TikToks would basically be the same thing as, well, maybe not the same thing, but you could possibly cross these over some, because you can do video on Instagram. And I doubt that they would want the exact same content to be on every single thing. They'd probably want to make some variation there. The only difference would be Facebook. Okay. Assuming an 8-hour work day, I don't buy it. Well, it doesn't matter if you don't buy it. Because, yeah, doing this kind of stuff, you may think, oh, a TikTok video, it's like a 1-minute thing. Dude, no. Some of these TikTok videos have to be, thought of, and you have to get sponsorship stuff in there sometimes. You have to get the right person to actually do the video. Then you got to go back and you got to edit it. Oh, you can edit it on your phone. Not necessarily. Not if you're doing, ad sponsor content or anything like that. Yeah, that's just... Yeah, and having to do that every single day. I mean, just... Here's the perfect example of what I would give. Okay, she was hired as the social media person, right? She didn't like the workload, so she left. Even if you just do that, how many people are doing her job now? Apparently there is a team now that does the social media, and not just one person. Yeah, and if it was overtime, then yeah, she's not working just 8-hour days. Yeah, this person isn't really thinking straight here. Yeah, people always discount issues they want to ignore by questioning the timing. I'm sick of shallow, paranoid capricicism, and bad faith. Yeah, that's just, I don't know. The whole situation is just like a giant bowl of steaming poop that, for some reason, we all just kind of were hoping was not true, but it's true. But yeah, like I said, I guess I'm done. I'm gonna go and see if there's any new videos. I'm kidding. I actually have Twitter stuff that I have to do, and I also have the short video that I need to produce. So yeah, thanks for hanging out, guys. It was interesting getting into the weeds a little more on this situation, because again, you can only learn so much just by watching people argue on Twitter. It's nice to kind of go and see the different points of view. And like I said, I wasn't even made aware, or I wasn't aware of the Madison issue until Moni brought it up. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is even more interesting than I thought it was going to be. But yeah, thanks for coming in, Joe. It was very nice of you. I appreciate all of your data points, and thank you for the thread that you shared there with us, so we could kind of get a little more information from Madison. Yeah, I'm gonna get to work now. I've got a video to produce and Twitter to mess around with, and I'm also gonna check some card store stuff. Thanks, guys. I'll see